Support for Character Crusade comes from audiobooks.com. Audiobooks make it possible to enjoy a story, learn something new, or find inspiration anytime, anywhere. And with more than 60,000 titles available, audiobooks.com makes it easy and convenient. Simply set up your account and start downloading your favorite books to your mobile device. Right now, you can start a free 30-day trial and select a book of your choice to get started. Go to book.charactercrusade.com and start listening today. We're also supported by you, the fans of Couch Warrior TV and Character Crusade. Whether contributing to our Patreon campaign or simply helping us spread the word, none of this would be possible without your support. Go to patreon.charactercrusade.com to learn about the benefits of supporting the Crusade with a recurring donation and help keep the Crusade rolling. Character Crusade is a proud member of the N4G TV and Maker Studios Partner Network. N4G TV partners have access to exclusive production assets that are second to none and maintain full creative control over their channels. Partner benefits include 24/7 customer support, SEO, a dedicated graphics team, a catalog of more than 400,000 licensed music and sound effects, and more.
You're listening to Character Crusade.
Greetings, Crusaders. You're listening to Character Crusade Roleplay Workshop. I'm Stu.
And I'm Joe.
And I'm Matt.
And we are all here together in the studio on microphones. Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
It is amazing,
I can
isn't
see
it?
you this time.
I know. It's incredible. It's incredible. Wow. You know, it's actually sort of creepy. Can we go back to how it was?
I don't know. Pop filters all around. I think it's great.
No. But
I'm not sure if I can afford to send Matt back east.
yeah, I know. It was so expensive the first time.
Remember, Stu kept calling it a rendition.
Oh, sorry.
Well, the guys we paid. Well, anyways.
Yeah, the next thing you know, you're going to tell him I was in New York.
Oh, you screwed it up again.
City or state?
Yes.
Whoa!
Great thing is,
get more specific.
This thing, laptop, way easier to carry than the console.
And we are going to
enough.
get into that because you remember in the last episode, Matt threw down the gauntlet. He said he was going to do some epic leveling. So we're going to get into that in our character craft segment. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about how much epic leveling you did, Matt.
I'm interested to tell you, too, Stu.
Are
and
you?
Some of it might actually
Are
be
you?
true.
You know, I knew it. I knew it.
Hey, I'm at level 3 now. That's epic to me.
That-
I have
actually, that is
tripled
epic.
my leveling.
Wow, that's pretty
Actually,
good
it's more than
productivity.
that because I was started at a level 0
Yep.
right back in Golden Potatoes.
Which
game.
isn't
Now I'm at a
possible in the
level
game,
3.
but that's pretty amazing.
You have to be born. I was born of pain and strife,
Yes.
and then I became the Naked Nord.
The Naked Nord. Oh my God.
I think we can just leave that one there.
Well, we're going to hear all the details, the gory details about that in our Character Craft segment. I'd like to start by just letting everybody know that Character Crusade Episode 7 marks the beginning of our bi-weekly podcast. Now, don't fret none, because even though we are going to be releasing this on a bi-weekly schedule now rather than a weekly schedule, we are going to be extending the size of this podcast by quite a bit, covering a lot more content. We're going to be probably going out to an hour and a half, 2 hours, and making sure that we're covering as much content as we had been previously. And I think it matters a lot for us because the fact that we're in the same room gives us a great advantage. We can see each other, we can talk more freely, and it really helps discussion. Yep. So I don't think that we would be playing to our strengths if we tried to rush episodes and cram them into an hour for the sake of making a weekly
then it'll
podcast,
come out like
right?
the first part of the Star Wars trilogy. Let's be fair.
That's true.
No, the first Star Wars were good.
I meant episodes 1, 2, and 3, not episodes 4, 5, and 6.
1, 2, and...
This is way too philosophical
Are those
for me.
Which episodes are you talking
Where
about?
baby Anakin decides that he's going to be a pod racer. I'm fairly sure.
Oh, I
that
heard
might
that
have
they
been
were going to
rushed
make
to
some
market.
movies about those, but I don't think they ever did.
Oh,
You're probably
well.
right. Maybe they were just drafts that made it out. They were leaked.
I was wondering, what are midichlorians?
I
Yeah,
wondered
Lucas, what
too.
the hell are midichlorians? No one seems to know.
I always thought that was the stuff that they put in a swimming pool.
There's so many kids peeing in this pool. Get the metachlorians.
Get the midichlorians.
Yes.
Oh,
God,
no.
somebody get the pool bot in here. Ugh.
Anyway, yes.
Yes. So, good news. Yes, we're going to be going to bi-weekly. That's okay. We're going to be extending the discussions. It'll let us dig into these topics a little bit deeper, which I think will be better for us, better for everybody concerned. A lot of the things that we're talking about, I think, are also the sorts of things that can't necessarily be rushed if you want to get good ideas. And it also gives us an opportunity every single episode to address your wonderful Crusader Mail. So we're going to be doing that this episode, and we're going to continue to do that going forward. But first, we're going to get into some thank yous in the Level Up segment. Stick around.
iTunes, amazing. Everybody who has been helping us to level up. Seriously, I know you guys have been out there, but I will admit to have been listening to our own podcast. I'm not rating our own podcast because I figure, that's sort of like voting for yourself. But 5-star ratings right now, pretty incredibly awesome. I know that we were talking a few days ago about where we are in the ratings.
Tell us where we're at,
on
Matt.
iTunes. Oh, good grief. You're going to tell me what we are at. Hang on for a second, Stu. I have many, many text messages about that. But while we're talking about it, I think the more important part is the fact that we have listeners who have started listening to the podcast and rated us and given us some comments. We had talked about this in one of the prior podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But Amornar, assuming that I'm pronouncing this correctly, and I'm sure that I'll get corrected, left a comment that says, just wanted to say, amazing podcast, guys. Started following Couch Warrior since Chapter 1 of Fleet Story, and this is a great inheritor of that foundation. Now, we're building on a legacy here, really, with the entire Couch Warrior TV project, but bringing it into the podcast, it says, great information, community, content, discussions, and really just amazing contribution to the roleplay community and applicable for Skyrim, much, much more. Keep up the good work. So, claps all around.
Yay.
Yay.
We love reviews. 5-star reviews are even better.
5-star reviews are fantastic. They're hard to come by.
They are.
So, come along for the Crusade is the other one, Kendall 38596. I've been following Couch Warriors since Chapter 1 of Aranis Arcana. The character Crusade is a very welcome change, and it's very interesting to listen to if you enjoy roleplay. It's also informative if you want to improve your roleplay in Skyrim or anywhere, really. And I think the part about reaching out for role players is really crucial here. As I mentioned to you while I was out east, I had a great conversation with folks who were big into role play, one of the gaming stores out there. It's amazing to walk into a place and see 100 people who are in there interested in role play games, not just Skyrim, not just digital, but everything dice-based.
The whole gamut. Yep.
The whole gamut. And that's something that you guys have vast experience that I don't.
A little bit of background, not as much as some, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But talking about role play in the Skyrim approach, I think is very different because you're generally playing on your own.
Well, yeah,
whereas in
you're
a
trying
role-play
to
environment, you're
meld
surrounded.
that role play into, I don't know, static isn't the right word, but into a predefined set.
Well, yeah, it's
And-
your brain is doing the work. You know, you're putting all the pieces together. You're filling in all the blanks yourself. So it's kind of a solitary role play experience. And for those of us who are kind of raised on more of a pencil paper, get together with your friends, a social role play experience, I would say that single thing is what drove me to start my YouTube channel in the first place. The fact that I was having a great role play experience and I wasn't sharing it with anybody, and it drove me crazy. And I thought, at this point, none of my friends are playing yet, and I'm having this experience and I'm enjoying myself immensely. Maybe I can just share it with the world. So I started recording my Xbox play as a way of, kind of fulfilling this need I had to discuss something I was excited about with people who were like-minded, and then things took off from there. So it's totally true. I mean, I think there are a lot of aspects of more social role play games that, I don't know.
Do you think it translates here?
Well, I think some of the techniques do, right? The Skyrim roleplay experience is a solitary one, and I think that's why this channel, this podcast, this whole thing is important. People are looking for a community of people to share this experience with, because traditionally role-playing has been a social experience.
Well, and I think other people are seeing that too. And you were asking a minute ago, I was talking about stats. Well, first of all, amazing that everybody has been so wonderful about going out and listening to it. Our download numbers are much larger than we had originally anticipated. And from a few days ago, ranked number 12 on new and noteworthy for games and hobbies on iTunes. Seriously, everybody who's listening to this podcast, please turn around and give yourself a huge pat on the back. Find someone that you want to share this with. We would love to have more people hear this. But for everybody who's listening to it right now, that's fantastic. Ranked number 7 in video games category.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing. And I will say that over the last couple of weeks, we have had a spike as high as rank number 4
That's almost on the podium.
on games and hobbies, which is pretty amazing when you consider that games and hobbies is a top level category. We're not talking about a subcategory. This is the top level category. So we definitely owe it to these loyal listeners / viewers.
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
and we're really high in Skyrim, which is not much of a surprise, right?
No.
Well, all the more reason to, I think, dial it back and spend and do some quality recordings and episodes.
Yeah.
And trying not to cut them into hour length and or
Make
what
them
have you,
meaningful.
and spend a little more time and maybe not distribute them as frequently,
Right.
like the 1 week. But so to me, that says that's the right direction, because
I would
people
agree.
really seem. I mean, I do. You appreciate quality over quantity in
I
this
agree.
particular case.
Yeah, and I think as role players, what we're trying to do here is create the sort of podcast that we would want to listen to.
Well,
And,
yeah,
I mean,
fair to say.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, I think, then who share that view. So,
Well, and it's fun to be involved in it, right? Because I, by all measures, shouldn't be sitting here because I'm such a loser at playing Skyrim. But what's great about it is that
Did
I've
you
made.
see the arrow go through my head?
I did. I watched it happen. It's kind of amazing. But to connect with some other people who love it as much and are as interested or willing to just say, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. That makes it so much more fun, too, because I had a lot of reasons to get into it. You guys enjoyed it, and I think that was reason enough. But to have someone else jump in and say, you know what, I'm willing to just drop the little bit of money and pick it up, and then to know that we're having a more fun conversation outside of the podcast.
Well,
What's
it
going on.
kind of
Great.
circles back to what Stuart was saying earlier about community, this type of play is more fun when you can share it with other people, and that's really what I think we had growing up, doing role play
Right.
over the weekends and
Yeah.
in college and all that.
Right.
It was really just an excuse to get together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with these types of games, you can't do that as easily. So it's
Right.
nice to be able to put this out and be part of it,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can not only share our experiences, but get the feedback on what's going on in your world, as on the other end of the spectrum listening.
Absolutely.
Well, and we get lots of questions coming in from the website, and we'll go back through.
Yeah,
how
keep
we
it
can
up.
do
We
that.
like it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's fantastic to hear from everybody. Questions and thank yous and comments and ratings. If you can think of a place where that needs to be posted and we haven't thought about it yet, send us a note. Let us know where else we should be.
Exactly.
Where are all the places that we're
Well,
on the internet?
yeah, I mean, we're on SoundCloud first and foremost. We host our files on SoundCloud, our audio files. So when the podcast comes out, it's always going to hit SoundCloud first. And then from there, it's distributed through our RSS feed to iTunes and Stitcher. And then, of course, you can always get it on charactercrusade.com if you're a purist, right? And you want to go and review the show notes and listen at the same time. It's kind of a cool thing, especially in those episodes where we may throw in some screenshots of characters or things that we're talking about in the
Right.
podcast. So, yeah. And for your convenience, we've created subdomains for all those locations so you can get to them fast and easy. So,
Absolutely.
right?
Well, I'm sure we'll have lots more people who have got comments for us, but huge opportunity for us to just say thank you to
Right.
the entire
Yep.
community for supporting us so far. And
Absolutely.
we're looking forward to you sticking with us, because as the newbies level up, we need the community to level up.
That's right. That's
Well
right.
said.
Exactly. So how did we do on Patreon this week? We've got this is wonderful. I think in the last episode we did a couple of shout outs to Rob and Sam, who were the first to help us out on Patreon. We've got two more this week, which I'm pretty darn excited about. That is also further validation that what we're doing is the right thing here at Character Crusade.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
mhm.
And they're getting in at a good level, right? The $5 level, at the night level.
That's correct. At that level, that warrants access to all of the Patreon exclusive content, and then also gets them a shout out. So the shout outs this time are going to Paul and William, who both came in at $5 a month recurring income, and that gets us almost halfway. We've got almost enough money in Patreon right now in recurring support to get us to our first goal,
Yes.
which is at $50, and is, of course, making this into a
Weekly.
weekly thing. A weekly thing.
We would love to do that, I think.
Right. We're calling it a weekly thing, not a weekly podcast, because we may stick with bi-weekly podcast, but do something else in the alternating weeks. So, we're not necessarily doing a weekly podcast. We may sprinkle in there some other things, namely video, and that is still in the works. But we can't do that without the support. So thank you all for giving it. We certainly appreciate it.
And at the very bottom of the Character Crusade pages, there's a link out to Patreon. For anyone who hasn't been there yet, there's some really good detail out there about what the Patreon campaign is about. And it says a very nice, large thank you for the 5 patrons and the income that we've got now. Truly, thank you very much for supporting us. It's how we bring you great Skyrim stuff.
That is correct. Well, that gets us through all of our level up content. Thank you, Matt. This is going to be a recurring theme for us because the support has been overwhelming. So I think every couple of weeks we're going to have all kinds of great fans and supporters to talk about. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I agree.
All right.
Level up.
All right. It's time to go into our character craft segment, and we are going to go around all 3 characters tonight. So stick around. All right, well, let's just get into this. Let's talk about Einar Stigandr. So, in our last episode, you were at level 1. So, tell us a little bit about what's going on with Mr. Einar Stigandr, Matt.
Well, I have done absolutely no modifications to Einar Stigandr up to this point, despite much urging from other compatriots that there might be some very simple console commands to make my life a lot easier. In fact, as I'm looking at it right now, I have 283 gold, which is probably not very much. But I'm carrying, my carry weight is 420 out of 305. So it's not much of a surprise that I'm moving around like a lethargic slug because I have too much stuff to carry.
You might want to look through your inventory a touch. And
so I already have. So here's the thing.
There's nothing you
want
to drop?
show about hoarders? Like I'm a Skyrim hoarder. I totally am. Because I don't know what stuff I need and what I don't. And when I kill somebody or get to a place, I'm taking it all now, right? So,
those skeevers are going to get harder and harder.
Oh
well,
my
everyone
gosh.
needs a skeever tail, right, or whatever it is that you get out of the teeth or whatever.
You can eat those,
Charred
Can you
skeever
really?
hides.
You can eat anything.
You can eat anything. So here's the thing, right? So I was texting Stu here in the middle of the night saying, what do I do with all this stuff?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to just abandon it in the road, right? So he's
Drop
like, well,
it.
here's the deal. Here's where you want to go. You can hide it in a barrel or do whatever you want. So I'm trying to find a barrel, because here
Hide
I
it
am
under a bushel.
completely overladen
No.
with stuff.
Sorry. Sorry.
So I find a barrel in the
Bad
middle
reference.
of town and I drop it all off, and that's
Barrel, not barrow.
barrel.
Okay,
Yes,
was it?
like one that has already
Yeah.
been evacuated of all of its ale. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. An
So,
empty
I looked
cask.
in my entire inventory and I'm like, you know what? Except for spells, anything that I've got here, I'm going to get rid of anything that seems less important.
Including
got rid of
weaponry and...
All of the weaponry. I didn't think about the fact that I had just cast off all of my armor, my boots,
You
my
didn't-
gloves.
okay,
I
so-
left the helmet on.
You're playing
Well,
first person.
thank goodness for
perspective.
that.
Oh, totally. So I'm not
Okay.
looking at myself at all.
Oh.
It's all looking at the world through
Okay.
my own
Let-
eyes.
okay, let's-
You might
so-
want to try a third at once because
Matt
that's going to be fun.
Is playing
Yeah.
first person perspective, and you accidentally shed your armor and everything. So
I'm walking
you were,
around in a helmet and a loincloth.
You were running around in a loincloth and didn't realize it.
So I didn't
With a
realize it
wood
until-
axe.
Right. No, I didn't even have a wood axe, right, when I left town. So here's the thing. Here's this big guy, right? He's obviously spent more time in the gym than I have.
dear God.
And I'm walking, and here comes, I don't know, a mosquito, and all of a sudden I start
Yeah.
losing health, right? And I'm like, what is going on? Okay, so I go around, try to find somebody, and I felt like, as you can imagine,
Were people
Right.
telling you to put on clothes?
they weren't. No, nobody
Oh,
said anything. I
really?
was talking to plenty of people. Maybe they thought it was kind of enjoyable that someone felt so comfortable.
Well,
But
normally when you're in a populated area, they'll say like, maybe you could make yourself decent, that kind of thing.
I heard
They'll
I heard
hint to
nothing.
it.
So outside of town, there's a little campfire,
Right.
a whole bunch of sleeping bags and everything, and I'm just trying to figure out where everything is. And I'm standing near the fire,
can't
and I'm
go
like,
well.
something's wrong here, right? I know,
Yeah,
right? The
I know.
loincloth of fire. And so mysteriously, I ran my finger back on the mouse wheel, and I'm like, holy cats! I have nothing on. No wonder I'm getting slaughtered when I walk by little children with a slingshot, right? You're
Freaking boots, a helmet, and a jock strap.
Well,
I
if you
did find a shield in short order until I could find some
Oh, well,
clothes.
thank goodness for that.
if you go to the armor's bench,
Oh,
you can
no.
upgrade your loincloth to a studded leather codpiece.
That would have been a lot better.
That would have helped.
That would have been kind of Mad Max.
Well, if the
Yeah.
smithing level's are right.
You have to have leather perk to do that. So otherwise, if you're in steel, all you get is a cock ring. Sorry. God, did I go there? I shouldn't go there.
I thought that was a mod, Stu.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad once you get to ebony. Once you make the ebony one, all is well.
It's all better.
Nice.
Nice.
Watch out for the glass.
Anyways,
So I started and realized that I had literally nothing. Like
Well-
I started at the beginning of the game with more than I had now.
where were you when you realized this? Were you
I would have
inside
to
the
look at
barrel,
the
or
map.
or you were outside?
You were in a town?
I was in a town.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So hang on.
Riverwood?
I think I was outside Riverwood.
So-
one end of town, there's a little.
Little camp where
Campfire
guards
ring,
hang out?
yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
All right.
they were.
Oh, so yeah, you
were
weren't
really
far from
surprised.
Helgen. You just came to Riverwood
I went
from
back
Helgen.
there, right? Because
All
I had been
In your
been,
cod piece.
In my cod piece. I went back
Okay.
up there. Excuse me. I went back up there because I didn't know whether or not there was any other place that I would be able to find quickly in order
Right.
to stash my stuff. And at least I knew
Okay.
how to get back there, right?
All right.
I didn't want to hop on the cart and spend money to go to some place where I'd never
Yeah.
been, where I absolutely knew I would never be able to find it. At least this place I knew, okay, I've gone through the center of town. We had a shootout at high noon. I knew what was going on. I knew where I could actually
Have you been
go
looking
and-
at the map?
I have been looking at the map a little
Okay.
bit, so most of it is still
But
Yeah.
it's not marked.
right.
Okay.
Right. So at least I went back there, dumped everything into the barrel, ran out of town nude.
And
practically.
everything, you mean everything.
Everything.
Okay.
Except the helmet. I kept
Except for the helmet.
Yeah, very smart. Went out to the campsite, got all this stuff, and then started making my way back down, to wherever I sort of was pointed, right?
Okay.
So
All right.
this is where I ended up down in the basement of this cavern,
Okay.
castle,
This
whatever it
is-
is, where the frost spider is.
Bleak Falls Barrow.
Okay, Bleak
Okay.
Falls Barrow.
So-
It's chilly, by the way, in a loincloth in Bleak Falls Barrow.
Well, you made it into Bleak Falls Barrow without any armor
No,
on?
I had some stuff, and the
Okay,
image that I
okay.
have of myself now is still a little bit clothed, but not quite probably
Okay.
as much as I should.
Okay.
But you can tell that I'm picking everything up and clearly not paying attention to what it is that I'm
Yeah.
slinging onto my back because I'm carrying an enormous amount of stuff and not wearing a whole lot.
You know,
So-
It's got to be something you can put on in there.
well, in Bleak Falls Barrow, though, I mean,
No,
you know.
probably not.
Oh, yeah, there's kill a bandit, steal his armor, done.
No, yeah, no.
Right,
yeah.
so.
Well, look at all the stuff I picked up that I'm not wearing. What the
Oh,
heck?
Christ, he's got studded
I've got
armor.
studded
and-
armor.
And you're
steel
not wearing
shield.
it? Well, you are now.
Hey,
but
you know
weren't.
what? My choices are my choices.
You know,
He's got four
Feeling
high
a little
boots.
back to nature.
you know
here.
what I love about this?
See, look, and
It's
there's a silver ring. He was just talking
Ooh,
about
and
that.
four hide bracers.
Einar Stigandr. I can picture him. Boots, helmet, feather boa, nothing else. That's
At
it.
the Copa.
That's because he's ready to give you a ride on
Copacabana.
lift. Yes.
Yes. No, this is terrific.
So do I pick studded armor fine or regular studded armor?
Fine.
What's
Fine's
the difference?
It's going to be a little better, maybe a little
it's
lighter.
Fine.
A little bit more protection, higher quality. So there's going to be ratings for all of that stuff, right?
Look at how much crap I'm carrying. Look, I have 4 sets of bracers, 4 sets of boots. What am I doing? I'm hoarding. And I'm
Carrying
gonna
a
get
lot of crap that
I'm
you-
going to get slaughtered by
If
anybody.
you were
faster than me.
closer to a town that you could get to quickly, yeah, you could sell that all off and make a little bit of coin. But at
would
this
really
point,
like to
you
go
might
anywhere
want to drop
quickly.
some of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
or
to.
Yeah.
find a container and just throw it in
You
there.
know, what you can do too, Matt, is go down to the essentials, right? Make sure you've got a full set of armor, a set of weapons, and then whatever healing potions or things like that you need. Ditch the rest, go through the barrow, and then, when you've got it cleared out, it's going to stay cleared for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, you come out the other end, and then you go back around and you collect all the gear you can and go and sell it off.
Yep.
But what you need to do is each time you find a cuirass or something like that, compare it against what you're already wearing to see if the stats are better, and then just swap, and
Yeah, it'll tell you.
I've spent a lot more time trying to
Yeah.
read through those.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like in the beginning when I'm setting up Einar Stigandr as my first
Yeah.
character. You can spend an awful lot of time
Oh gosh, yeah.
reading about it. It took me like an hour and 15 minutes to set
Easily.
them up. But as I'm looking through all these, I'm like, okay, well, I looked at these other 14
Right.
weapons. Which one do I use? And then I want something that's fast, and I want something that's going to
Well,
be easy to
kind of
use.
looking at what you're going on there, you look like you had a sword and a mace and an axe.
I got lots of stuff. Hunting
Was it
bow,
axe is going to
arrow,
swing
axe.
faster than a mace, and a sword is going to swing faster than an axe.
yeah.
So
Okay.
if you're looking for speed, go for the smaller, or the bladed, the swords or the daggers. Daggers aren't going to do as much damage.
So like the
Yeah.
steel
Excuse me.
war axe.
Steel war axe
Good
is going to
choice,
do
not-
decent damage. It's not going to be as quick as the sword, but it's
Okay.
going to be faster to swing than the mace.
Okay.
Yep. Mace
So-
Mace will be a nice damage dealer for you, but just a slower swing, that's all.
Yeah, pretty much. There's
So-
a trade-off. I mean,
yeah,
more
you just
damage for
kinda-
less speed. So.
Yep. Yep.
Same with the two-handed weapons. They
So-
swing slow, but if they hit,
Yeah.
look out.
I think what you've achieved, Matt, does qualify as epic leveling since our last discussion. Honestly, because the learning curve at the beginning of Skyrim can be rather steep, but once you start to understand the details in how things fit together, then it becomes way easier. And what you're contending with is you know, you're so busy trying to figure out the game rules, how everything works, and what your options are.
Right.
That role play is virtually impossible to achieve.
Just trying to figure out what
And-
I'm supposed to do, where I'm
Yeah,
supposed to go.
I know. You
Generic
know,
game
so,
mechanics, right?
very few people make a first character that's not a throwaway character. That's how I felt about mine. The first character I made, you know, I had no idea what I was doing, and I floundered around and stuff like that. And eventually I'm like, you know what? This has been a great learning experience. I figured out how things work. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a new one, understanding what I need to do this time around. And, you know, so
And you
I think it's
keep
great.
your original character as a sort of a reference. I think I'm already thinking
you
about
can, yeah.
creating a new character. But, you know, again, we were chatting a few episodes ago. Is your character more like you? Is it completely opposite of you? I just said I want the guy that looks really awesome.
I think that's
He's
an
gonna be
interesting
huge,
question,
right?
actually.
Uh-huh.
It's more of a psychological or
Yeah.
you know, analytical.
It is. So I'm completely compensating by having this enormous, hulking, muscular Nord dude.
because
here.
you're so tiny.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I feel so
I don't know
So-
anyone who describe you that way, but okay, all right.
mountain of a man, right? But
But no, I get you. I think I know where you're going.
so, but again, about game mechanics, understanding about swing speed, about what it
Right.
is that you got. I honestly didn't know when you stop to trade weapons. Does the world stop around you as you pick a new weapon? I was concerned that I was going to continue getting hacked on because all the other FPS games that we were playing, you immediately press a key and you've changed weapons. I've mapped nothing on my keyboard here, so I've got no advantage there. So when I want to change something, let's go into the map, let's go into the items, let's go into weapons. Let's
Yeah,
pick a
pretty much
guy.
when you get into a menu screen, everything around
Yeah.
you pauses, and I think there are mods that will prevent that.
There's a nice little grace period though there, which is ideal for
Personally,
when you're starting out.
I'm not good enough at swapping things out fast enough, and I don't hotkey a lot of stuff either. So
I do use my quick menu a lot.
I do for somewhat, but not as extensively as
Right.
others such as yourself.
yeah, I
Maybe
haven't gone.
lesson for another time. You can tell me about the quick menu.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know. I like it. Usually, I keep it simple though. I don't map a lot. I will usually map 3 or 4 weapons depending on the character.
Okay.
Maybe 1 or 2 spells or a lantern. I'll usually hotkey my lantern or a light spell because it's something I would use a lot.
Or healing.
Yep. And then the top end of my number keys, usually 8, 9, and 0, I will leave for something like convenient horses.
Oh.
And for that, I'm usually mapping 1 to say horse follow me or don't follow me, 1 to open my horse's inventory, and then sometimes for a fast dismount or something like that in combat situations. But
How do you
I
tie
keep
up
it,
your horse when you get somewhere?
You don't.
It's
You're-
smart though. You've
Yeah.
trained it well.
No, I haven't, because
It
the first
stays.
horse that I got ran off at breakneck speed, probably because I had been riding him with a loincloth. So
Did you steal it?
I did.
Yeah,
well, that's why it went. It went back to its original owner.
That makes me sad. I
if
thought
you-
that maybe he would have,
If you come up to a horse like anything and it doesn't say steal, then you can acquire it.
okay.
If
Yeah.
it says steal, then
You're out of luck.
yeah.
It
it's,
wants to go home.
it's gonna go back to, it's gonna return to its origins when you get off of it.
Yeah,
Sure.
You'll get a horse, but you'll also get a bounty, and then
Well, you get that
it
too.
won't
That's
wait
a
Does
for
the
bonus.
bounty stay forever, by the way?
No, the bounty. Well, it depends. I
Or
mean,
does it wear out?
no,
it stays
it
until
stays, but you have an option, right? You can do time, or you can pay it off, or whatever. You'll eventually get to a point where a guard will confront you, and he'll say, "Hey, man, you need to do something about this," and you can
okay.
choose what you want to do. You can either resolve it, or you can make it worse. So, depending on your
Make it worse.
style. So, level 3. How do you feel about it so far? I mean, what's your overall impression of the game in terms of just enjoyment?
I think, honestly, it's really a lot of fun. I can totally lose a lot of time. I'm not going to go into the stats menu and show how long I've been playing because
time
I've died a
vampire,
lot,
yeah.
right? So it's a huge time suck.
Mm-hmm.
But after everyone else in my house has gone to bed and I can just put on the big headphones and just play, it's
Mm-hmm.
really a lot of fun. Because even if you die, I've set my save points to be relatively close together now, because then at least I don't have to go back
Right.
and redo 45 minutes worth of work. I've enjoyed figuring out the weapons. I've enjoyed figuring out what I can and can't take without getting in a huge amount of trouble.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you can explore lots of places that don't look like you can really
Yeah.
go there. You had mentioned, I think, in podcast number 1 about the fact that what was epic to you was that, that mountain over there, you can go
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
You can.
Well, you can, but if you are carrying 450
You can't go
out
there
of
very
300,
quickly,
you go there
no.
very slowly, right? It's like wearing a land anchor and
I hear that.
trying to figure out what I can get rid of because I don't really know what's important yet because I don't know what's just outside the door or just inside that door.
Yeah.
But in where I am now, it's just one of those first puzzles. I felt like I was
Yeah.
playing Myst, right? Had
Oh,
to figure
yeah.
out the
Oh,
puzzle,
Myst.
and then
I
it
like
opens up
Myst.
the gate, and then you get inside. And I
Uh-huh.
thought that was a lot more fun. I didn't realize that there were going to be little puzzles like that.
Yeah,
I-
there's little logic puzzles kind of strewn throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
I may have realized I was having some trouble, so maybe we throw some logic at it and he'll do well. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll start thinking about his, attire for one.
Right. They're not particularly challenging.
No,
But
they're
I-
not over the top.
No,
No,
That's
but
not
if you're
the
used to
point.
just walking into a place and, whacking things with blunt objects, then when you realize that you actually have to figure out how to get through the door. See, look at this. It looks pretty cool, right?
Well, he looks a lot better now that he's clothed.
Yeah.
Right.
So I found that to be kind of fun, but looking in these places where you're fighting skeevers on the stairs, and you're walking into areas that are not well lit, and you don't have any kind of a spell that will light it up, or you don't realize that you should have been smart enough to pick up a lantern. I don't know what it's going to be like when I get to level 6 or level 10 or level whatever you guys are at.
Right.
I have no idea how long it takes to get there, but
Yeah.
I've only picked up a couple of quests. I still don't remember where I'm supposed to go. I felt like I should have written it down and taken a note,
Yeah.
but I know I can go back.
Yeah.
So
Well, I am so looking forward to hearing your updates, like when you hit level 12 or 15, right?
I'm hoping that by the next time we're sitting
You
down like this, that I'll be like a level 6 or 8 or something like that. I don't know if it's cumulative, right? Is it twice as hard to get to level 3 as it is to get to level 2?
It slows down. No, it slows. It's not. I wouldn't say that it's cumulative in that much, right?
It's not exponential, but
No,
it
it
does-
becomes progressively longer
Right.
process, right?
So
I'd
can
say
I ask,
up to what would you say? Say like what 15 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Yeah.
acquire those levels fairly rapidly if you're playing
Yeah.
somewhat
Yep.
consistently.
Yep.
Then it starts to slow down more noticeably.
so
Yep.
what level were your most advanced characters so far?
I think for me it was probably Grimal at around 61.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was a high elf battle mage named Pagan, and he made it to 68.
Oh, that's pretty good. Revolsi, actually, I think I made it up to around 60 as well.
Yeah. So the first 20 levels will go fast, and then the way the game is kind of set up, when you hit level 50, things really taper off.
Okay.
But by that time, it's I don't know. It's more about enjoying the content at that point, right? And
Yeah, you
you're
kind of
not
know
thinking
what,
about it quite so much.
You have a better idea what's happening, so,
Yeah.
and what you should do,
right,
and-
because you've got beyond
know,
that whole issue of survivability,
right.
right? So one of the things that you might want to consider, Matt, is when you get back to Riverwood and turn this quest in,
Yep.
you'll make a little bit of money and all that stuff, but there's a guy right in Riverwood named Findall.
Yep.
He's an elf. You may have run into him already.
Yes, I already had to deliver love notes to him or whatever.
Yes. Well, he can train you in archery.
Okay.
If you have enough money, he'll train you in archery, and it's great because he can train as many as 5 levels. So you can train 5 levels of any skill, provided you can find the trainer
Okay.
in between your character levels.
Oh.
So you could go to Findall, and he could train you up 5 more levels in ranged weapons, which of course helps you get closer to that next character
Right,
level as
right,
well.
right.
But sometimes that's always a nice shortcut.
So
to
is there a
and-
ladder that you can follow? I mean, I don't want to just go after
No.
the game mechanics to level up, but I mean, do you know?
Nope.
Okay.
Not really. I mean, it's just a matter of what skills do you want to focus on, and can I find a trainer?
Yeah.
The trainers are scattered all over Skyrim.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
In cities or not. I mean,
Yeah.
I think a good example of someone that can train you that's not in the city is the what's her name? The archer,
Angie.
Angie.
Yeah.
She's way the hell out of the way.
Yeah, she's way
That's
up in the
something
mountains.
that's a person you find almost by accident.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but she's not a traditional trainer
No,
either.
no. 'cause
She makes
can-
you work for it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So-
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So but if you go and visit Angie, you can
yeah,
get
you can get a lot more
yeah,
than just
you can get 7 levels out of her
right.
easy, because she'll train you, and then there's also in her hut, there's also a skill book, an archery skill book. If you haven't read it already, that'll get you another level right there. I want to say the maximum you can get by visiting her is 7 levels. So
Do you level up when you're doing things like reading the entire text, or by picking it up by
picking it up and opening it? That's
yeah,
all you
for
gotta
books,
do.
it's just opening it.
Because I've been trying to figure out how much of the content of the books that I'm reading do I need to internalize.
No,
that's really more for entertainment.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah, role play.
some of
this
it's
is
kind of
about-
fun to read through.
This is about game mechanics, right?
But as far as game mechanics go, all you got to do is just open it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know whether or not the stories, the material that was in the books, was germane to the next thing. If I had to
It
remember,
can
right?
be. It can. Some quests will require you to find journals and books, and within those journals, usually a journal, they'll give you more information on how to proceed or how to get past the next
Sure. Thing.
roadblock.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Well, I have a long
that's
way to
pretty
go.
obvious when those come up. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll know.
It's a great update, Matt. Thank you.
I got a long way to go, and now that he's clothed and has some weapons, he's ready to
I
go.
think he'll probably get there a little faster now.
Yep, I think
Well-
so. Well, let's move on to our next character, Joe's character. Stick around. Okay, Joe, tonight we're going to talk about a new character you've created. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't had a chance to play Hinto as much as I'd like, so I don't really have any new updates for him. But I have been putting together a new concept for a darker character.
Okay.
It's a female character. I've never done a female character in Skyrim yet,
Okay.
so that
New experience?
new experience. I mean, mechanically, it's doesn't matter, but
Right.
play-wise, it should be kind of fun.
Well, you and I had a conversation over the weekend where you were thinking about trying to create a character who is really dark, and we had talked a little bit about maybe some of the things you were thinking of. So I'm curious to see sort of the direction you're going to go.
Yeah, so this the original what I was thinking was kind of this dark paladin, kind of a fallen paladin, if you will. So that's kind of where I started with, and the way it's kind of playing out so far, she is level 1, a Dunmer.
I'm a higher level than you.
You are higher level. You are. She's a Dunmer named Ienarath, excuse me.
Okay.
Dunmer names are a little bit tongue twisty, I think, sometimes.
They can be.
So naturally, that's why you would choose it, right? Anyway, so she is born in Windhelm from immigrant parents. So she was born in Windhelm, although her parents came from the Morrowind, Solstheim, that whole
Okay.
Dunmer area.
Gotcha.
So that's where she was born at, and she kind of has that creepy child. There's just something not the same about her as the rest of the kids.
Okay.
She's a dark character, and I wanted to go dark because it seems like every time I try to start out with this, this strapping character with angst, and he always finds to have this noble cause comes up and takes him over. So I'm
Okay.
like, I just want to play something
So it's
dark.
start dark and stay
Start dark, stay dark.
Yeah, we had this great conversation about how do you do that, right? Because a lot of
this
times
nobility seems to kind of creep up and
it just
And how do you
messes
lay
up
set
the
all
whole
that
thing.
aside, right?
Yeah.
I will admit it, when I'm playing, I don't know. I have to step out of my own brain to think about how would I do stuff that I wouldn't
Right.
normally do in my regular life. Right? No, it's okay for me to steal all that stuff.
Yep, it's seriously challenging
Right.
to play a purely evil character who also has humanity is extremely difficult, because I think a lot of us, our first reaction would be to say, yeah, I can play an evil character, but then we'd play them like they were the Terminator.
right, just
complete,
robotic.
yeah, just robotic, completely devoid of personality, infallibility, and all these things that make a person an individual. So.
Right. So I think with her, I'm going to go down the path of Mehrunes Dagon.
Okay.
And so
Really
she's,
nice, wholesome
yeah,
path.
yeah,
of course.
absolutely.
Right.
So going to keep her true. But right now, so she's had kind of this as far as backstory goes, and I don't have it detailed. It detailed out, but I did write down some bullet points. I sent them earlier, but I don't have them in front of me. But what I can say right now is that she was born Windhelm in the slum district.
Yep.
As most Dunmers live in that particular city, and her mother died in childbirth.
Okay.
So she was raised by her father for about 3 years when he was murdered in a hate crime on the docks.
Things
So-
just keep getting better.
So now she is an orphan who is being raised by her aunt and uncle who also immigrated with her parents.
Okay.
So up until about age 7, so we're kind of fast tracking to age 7 here.
Okay.
Her aunt has begun to teach her some things about alchemy and trying to give her some skills.
Right.
And she sees the potential to harm people with all these alchemy skills.
Okay.
Her aunt's not
Look at
thinking
the
a whole
hope in
lot
his
about
eyes.
that. So her aunt stops teaching her. Her aunt
okay.
refuses to teach her anymore because she sees where this little girl's going and she doesn't want to be the
Okay.
one to cause it.
Okay.
So then Ienarath decides at around age, I think about age 10 to 12, that her aunt and uncle are stifling her progression.
Okay.
That she's rebelling. She's
Okay.
a tween, whatever. So she runs away.
Okay.
She runs away from Windhelm, from the people bringing her up, and she is intercepted by a group of bandits. The bandits take her in and begin to raise her as kind of one of their own.
Okay.
And during this time with the bandits, they have these dealings, as bandits do, with a variety of people. And so a group of those people have to be necromancers, or
Okay.
happen to be necromancers. And that intrigues her.
Mm-hmm.
So she starts thinking more about the necromancers. And as she's with these bandits, she's kind of learning a little bit more about, she runs into different cultures and different things. And she decides that she's going to run away from them. And she's going to go find these necromancers
Okay.
because she can relate. So that brings us to about age 15. She runs away from the bandits.
Okay.
And she finds the necromancers, and they accept her and take her in. So now she's in this more structured environment because there's study and there's the alchemy which she gets reintroduced to, and it's still a little chaotic. She likes order. She's it's come to this point where she likes order, and although it's better than it was, it's still not where it needs to be for her. And during her studies, she comes across books of her people, the Dunmer. This is where she learns a little bit more of her past or her culture.
Okay.
This is where she learns of Mehrunes Dagon, and she really migrates and that hits a chord with her.
Sure.
So this is where she picks up her Mehrunes Dagon vibe.
So you've put a fair amount of thought into just kind of the progression with this character.
Yeah, because I want to set up her mental state when I start
There's
the
a lot
game.
of psyche in
Yeah.
this one.
Yes.
What I'm curious about then is you said something about she kind of discovers that she has the capability of harming people through her alchemy work.
Well,
does
yeah.
does she have a desire to hurt people? And if so, does that come from a place of hate, or does it come from a place of kind of morbid curiosity, or what is it?
At that point, she was so young. I think it's more of a morbid curiosity coupled with a beginning to understand
Right.
how you can take control of other people.
Okay.
So she's learning to that.
Wow.
With that harm comes power.
Yeah.
She can control.
Right. We have interesting, right? An extremely intelligent, curious, and driven person with what sound to me sort of like sociopathic tendencies.
Probably.
Really impressionable,
Well, yeah, right?
right? Everything that she runs into is something she just kind of puts in the bag of tricks.
Oh,
and,
yeah, she
well,
absorbs
maybe use
it.
that later, but
Right.
not right now.
Right.
Absorb it, store
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
keep it in your bag. Yeah.
It'll be
it's part of your toolkit now.
interesting to see how this sort of it's not fair to call it evil. You know, calling it evil isn't what to call it. Right?
No, it's at this point. No, at this point, I wouldn't say evil.
educational.
It's dark. She's
It's
she's
just
going
dark.
dark
Yeah,
and
it's
down
just
a
dark.
dark path, and whether she stays on it is her decision in the long run.
right.
There's
So-
a lot to overcome there, though. So there's a
Yeah,
great
she's
amount
got a
story
lot of
that goes
baggage
into
that
it.
she's dealing with, and probably
Yeah.
not so healthy a way.
Yeah.
But so she's 15. At say I'm gonna 15 when she comes to the necromancers. Spends about 5 years with them, studying, learning about her heritage, learning about Mehrunes Dagon and alchemy and enchantment, maybe to a small extent.
right.
And at about age 20, I'm saying after about 5 years, and that's where the game starts for me.
Okay.
So she's equivalent to human age 20.
Okay.
I don't know the Dunmer lifespan, but say equivalency.
Okay. Okay.
So age 20 is when I'm starting the game for her, and her whole deal is I'm really digging everything that Mehrunes said about my people, about his order, and making the world a
Yeah.
better place
Right.
through that warped sense.
Yeah.
And her thing is, what's this mythic dawn I keep hearing about?
Oh, okay.
I need to go see if that still exists.
Okay.
And if it doesn't, I need to see if we can make it,
Bring it back.
bring
it
it
happen.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she decides to yet again run away from the necromancers to pursue whether or not the mythic dawn really exists
Okay.
and
So
what she can do about it.
that's interesting because it sounds like hanging out with the necromancers was kind of an academic thing for her.
Yeah,
But she's got something of a spiritual hole she's trying to
a
fill
little
as
bit. And I
well.
guess maybe that looking back on some of my past characters, that seems to be a recurring theme. But it's such a good driving
Yeah, it can be.
plot point.
It can be.
So it's I wouldn't say it's a spiritual thing as much as she agrees with the tenets.
Okay.
It's really about putting order back into the world,
Okay.
even if
Yeah.
it's perhaps not in the best way.
But there is a question there, though, right? Because you're playing other characters that seem to be much more spiritual in nature. Is this just a cerebral?
It's kind of
If I
that's a
do
good
this, we'll
that's
get
a
this
good
result.
That's a good analogy. It's kind of a cerebral version of that, perhaps. But so here's the twist on it, though, is that she wasn't so lucky this time around.
Okay.
She tried sneaking out. She grabbed supplies. She tried getting away, and the necromancers caught her.
Ah.
They don't like being used
Uh-huh.
as they would see it. So they caught her, and the next thing she knows, she's waking up in a room. She has no idea where she is,
Okay.
and that's where the game starts.
Ah. Okay.
So
Sweet
that is
backstory.
a product of alternate start.
Okay.
So
And
I went with the necromancy, the
Okay.
necromantic alternate start option.
all right. And what did you get?
I got a whole can of worms opened up.
Did you really?
Yeah,
More than you were bargaining for, I guess.
It was a surprise,
All right.
absolutely. And I don't know if alternate start has random options for each of the starts or if they're all the same.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if I want to bust it open for anybody, but I mean, alternate start's been around for a little bit, so I guess I probably could go on.
Well, you the other thing you can do is you
you could save the reveal for our next episode and tell
Let's do
us
that.
where
Let's
she
do that,
came
because
out.
honestly, I just started her, so I really
Yep.
don't have much to say beyond that she started out in a room filled with alchemy ingredients, a safe bed, a cooking pot, and a skeleton.
And that's it.
And a skeleton.
And a skeleton.
To snuggle with.
Now, fortunately, he
Yes.
was not in the bed, so.
Not
Oh,
in a snuggling mood.
well, you can't even spoon with a skeleton. What
No,
good
but he
is
did
it?
seem pleased to see me.
I think there's going to be such a great amount of
Yeah.
character depth
For sure.
with this character.
Yeah, where I'm going to take her from here, I don't know.
Mhm.
I need to survive the environment. It's not a very friendly environment. I will lead up to that.
Yeah.
There's so much in the backstory that makes the playability so much more interesting.
Yeah,
right?
and it just kind of really it all kind of came to me, well, after our conversation.
Yep.
Of the overall, the arching
Mhm.
goal is to make this kind of this dark paladin character.
Yeah.
But that's way out there.
Yeah, that's
That's way down the
long-term
road.
state.
That's way down the road. So,
Yeah.
in the meantime, what makes her tick? So that's really actually I did that all today. I'm like, it
Yep.
kind of came and I started putting down bullet points.
Well, this is what the biography is all about. We talked about biography a little bit, obviously, already, but we said we were going to come back to it a lot. And really what the biography is supposed to be about is we're not telling the narrative of what has happened to our character up to the point where the game of Skyrim starts. What we're doing is trying to lay down the groundwork that's going to help us understand who they are as a person, because we need that basic understanding of who they are as a person to get a sense when we're role-playing this character in Skyrim, how they're going to react to different situations. Because
Well, why do they
in
make
the-
the decisions they do?
Yes, in the grand epic of this character's entire story, if they were going to write a novel about your character, they wouldn't write about the biography. The important stuff about what happens to the character would be the stuff that's happening in Skyrim. The stuff in Skyrim is we've talked about it before, is that crucible that makes the character into the amazing thing that they turn into, for good or bad.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So,
And
yeah.
the bio really just sets up your start.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's all about the playthrough and
Yeah.
what happens next.
Right. I think what you've done is absolutely perfect. You've hit on certain points, right? We've got a little set of
Yeah,
milestones.
some highlights that
you
would
know.
have had an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's terrific. I'm excited to hear about where she goes. And I'm also excited to hear about your experiences playing your first female character and how that works out for you. So.
Yeah. And I will also, just as an add-on, currently, given her background, and these are goals that may change, but right now, at the start of the game, she has 2 goals: to either discover and or revive the Mythic Dawn, and to bring Ulfric to his knees
Wow.
and crush him.
Yeah. Well, that
Send him to oblivion.
that hatred of Ulfric obviously coming from what happened to her parents, right?
Correct.
So, yeah.
And whether or not that comes to fruition, I will find out.
Well, a really scary person with a vendetta. I love it.
And perfect. And just for maybe some notes for Matt's sake and anyone else that's new, Windhelm is the city that is ruled by Ulfric Stormcloak. If you took the vanilla, which you did, the
Start.
start in Helgen, Ulfric is one of the riders with you.
Okay.
He turns out that he is the Jarl of Windhelm and the leader of the Stormcloak Rebellion.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, in his city, whether you agree with his politics, the Dunmer, along with the Argonians and pretty much anyone that's not Nord, are treated really as second-class citizens. And there's a small set or sect within the city where you'll find most of the Dunmer people, and they're all kind of downtrodden. It's basically a slum.
A little
Interesting.
ghetto.
Okay.
So that's just kind of some to fill in some of the blanks
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
as I was going through my story, my backstory, that might not have made a lot of sense for you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Really
Yeah.
do.
Well, sounds good. We'll touch base again in the next episode and find out where she's at. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. We are going to go over my characters next, so stick around. So my character update this week is divided a little bit.
All right. And we're talking Fulcrum?
We're talking Shullat.
Oh, Shullat.
Now, if you remember, I'm working on my Epicosity project. I have played Julian up to about level 45.
Julian, a.k.a. Fulcrum.
Fulcrum,
as
yes.
we've talked in the past.
Yep. And I gave him a rest and said, okay, I'm thinking about using him as my Dragonborn candidate. Now it's time to go and put together my Harbinger character. And for that, I created the Redguard Shullat. We talked about him, I think, in the last episode.
Yep. Correct.
So here's the thing. With Shullat, I've been having so much fun just kind of being a swordsman and, being a part of this sort of Imperial army that I've created.
Yeah, now, so give us a quick refresher. He's just kind of a straight-up fighter.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He's a warrior focusing on two-handed, and he came in through alternate start as part of the Imperial army. So last time around, we talked about this whole thing about his whole crucible being losing the men that he was commanding, right? And what did he do? And when we left off, he had gone back to Whiterun, and the idea was that he was going to start in Whiterun to figure out what to do about his commission. And the way that I'm thinking about this is that he's a bit of a special case in that not only is he's an officer, but he's been sort of given the leeway to be a bit of a free agent. He has the authority to bring on his own soldiers and so forth. And his objective, the objective given to him by his commanders was, you're going to go into this area that's neutral territory in the Civil War. Right. It's this area that's around Whiterun. This is the part of Skyrim that's still undecided. And your objective is to spread goodwill among the citizens, to make political connections, and to do everything that you can to ingratiate yourself to the citizens, right? So to him, that means taking care of the bandit menace, and he can't take care of the bandit menace without first setting up some kind of base to operate from and recruit new soldiers and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
So what area, if I can ask?
Well, it's kind of interesting because, first of all, what I decided to do was I needed to build up some kind of a fortification, and then I needed to recruit enough soldiers to man it. And so I'm using a mod called Tundra Defense, and I highly, highly recommend this mod. It's amazing. Basically, what it does is it gives you a whole toolkit that allows you to build buildings and fortifications anywhere in Skyrim you want to. You can literally find any plot of land anywhere and start building on it. And so by using the menu items and by spending some money, you can build fortifications, buildings, towers, scaffolds. You can build a barracks. You can build a main office building. You can set up a general store and a mine. You can have citizens come and live inside your compound, and you can collect taxes.
I like taxes.
It's amazing. And I could see this having so many possibilities. But what I did is Shullat started by going into Whiterun and starting to meet people. And like I said, one of the things that he did is because he feels a little bit out of his element, he's a bit socially awkward. He doesn't exactly feel like he's the most qualified person to be talking about politics with people and so forth. The first thing he does is he goes to the Bannered Mare and he sits at that back table.
Right.
He becomes a bit infatuated.
With Sadia, right?
With Sadia,
Yeah.
yep. But one of the things I discovered is that back table in the kitchen at the Bannered Mare is also where Battleborn Senior likes to come and sit down and take some of his meals.
I guess I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. And I'm sitting there hanging out,
Oh, funny.
watching Sadia cooking.
Now,
and
you've heard of Battleborns.
Huh?
I'm sure you have.
Oh, yes. I'm sure you've heard of me, a name I'm sure you know well. Yeah, he's I can't stand him. But
Asshole.
anyway, he sits down at the table right across from me, and then we start getting into this political conversation. And what you very quickly realize is that as part of the Civil War quest, he's a huge backer of the Imperials.
Naturally.
Right? So, and he's probably one of the most wealthy and influential people in Whiterun. And now he's sitting at the table, and we have this common interest. And it happened
perfect.
by accident, right? So the way that I kind of role-played that is like, okay, he sees Shullat, who's obviously in officer gear, sitting at a private table. He comes back and has a conversation with him, and now there's this mutual respect thing going on, right?
Right.
Where I'm,
Perfect.
I'm now talking to this guy who's very well connected politically inside of Whiterun and who's a huge Imperial sympathizer.
Oh, yeah, and someone
So-
you could probably relate to on that
Right.
military level.
Yeah, there's the military, there's
That
the whole
structure.
military thing
Yeah,
that
someone
they would
he's really
have.
comfortable with.
Yep, and then the whole political thing.
Until Sadia comes and cooks
Yeah.
something.
Until Sadia comes and cooks something, and then I
distracts him.
then I
Gets
check
a little.
then I check her out. But so
Battleborn, quiet.
yeah, shut up. I'm trying to watch this. Look at she's stirring. She's stirring.
like it's important.
Stirring the soup. That's amazing.
Pretend I'm
Yeah,
interesting.
I know, right? So basically what I did is to me, that was sort of like Shullat making a very critical political connection inside of
Oh,
Whiterun.
for sure.
And then
Makes
so
complete sense.
immediately after that happened, I used amazing follower tweaks and I went and recruited Battleborn Senior's son
Oh, nice
and
move.
made him into a follower, and then I put him in I put him in all Imperial officers garb, and I basically made him an officer. And then I went and had a giant slugfest with that huge woman who sits in the Bannered Mare who wants to fight you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
She's what, at the back table, I think? Or-
yeah, I can't remember her name.
No, I don't remember. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we'll put it in.
yeah, I got into a fist fight with her, and then after I beat her up, she said, "Okay, I could follow you." So I brought her on as a follower and made
Perfect.
her also into an officer. And then at that point, the three of us started traveling around, and this, to me, this was goodwill time, right? I've
Sure.
got a couple of, high quality people with me. By this point, I had scrounged up enough money to purchase a horse. I had outfitted the two of them in Imperial gear, so we went riding up to Valtheim Towers. We cleared it out.
right.
That's the Imperial Army going and taking care of the citizens, rooting out the bandits. We cleared out Riverwatch,
Okay.
that bandit camp across the river there. We cleared that out. We went up to Helgen, cleared all the bandits out of Helgen, cleared all the
Alright.
bandits all the way up and down there, right? And so to me, that was us doing our thing, right? And
Right.
it was creating that
Well,
goodwill.
it's a visible show.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing I did, of course, along the way is I confiscated absolutely, every item, every stitch of armor, every weapon I could find. We loaded down the horses, and then we went around, to Halted Stream Camp. We took out the smugglers that are hanging out all over the place around there.
Right.
Cleared them all out, and then I took all of that loot back to Whiterun. I converted it all to materials and cash, and then I used that money to start building our compound, the
So,
Imperial compound.
With the compound, was it Tundra Defense? Is that what you said?
Tundra Defense, yes.
Okay, so I know in the past you've also used a mod called Guild Starter.
Yeah.
Do you think you would need that if you have this mod?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm using both.
Okay.
So here's the way that this works. Tundra Defense gives you all of these tools, and I went online and I watched a couple of videos on people building things. And a lot of people who use Tundra Defense are using it in in the same way that a lot of people have used game modes in other games, where you can create small fortifications and then you can fight wave after wave of enemies.
Okay.
That's
Almost
kind of
like
what
a horde type.
Right.
Okay.
That's sort of what Tundra Defense is designed to do.
Sure.
So what you can do is you can set up enemies to spawn whenever you want, and then you can defend your fortress.
There you go, Matt.
Yeah.
Enemies whenever you want.
I love
Yeah.
the idea of more enemies.
Exactly.
Wait a minute, what? What?
But the way that this plays out is I looked at a lot of these videos. So people who are using Tundra Defense for that purpose tend to find big, flat, open spots, and they'll build a wall, and then it's about, defending that location. What I decided I wanted to do was I wanted to take a little bit different approach, and I wanted to use the tools available in Tundra Defense to really try to build in a unique location where the land formations were favoring me.
What area did you choose?
So I chose a spot. There's an outcrop of rock. I want to say it's so. If we just imagine a map, right, where Whiterun is sitting, there's a chain of mountains to the north of Whiterun. So, you're heading north, and you'd pass Silent Moon's camp.
Yep.
And it would take you up through this valley, like through
Yeah.
Labyrinthian
Yep.
and all that stuff. Well, when you get to, imagine going to Silent Moon's camp, but instead of going up through the valley, you take a hard left and you head down along the mountain chain.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you head down along the mountain chain. You'll eventually come to a small kind of a pond, and then there's this big outcrop of rock, a big point of rock that sticks up out of the ground, out of the hillside quite a ways, and it's a fairly high location. And when you stand on top of that outcropping of rock, from there you can see Silent Moon's camp, you can see Fort Greywatch, you can see the Western Watchtower.
Oh, nice location.
And you can see Whiterun from there.
It sounds like it wouldn't be that far from I don't remember that graveyard.
Yes, you know where it is.
Where the Headless Horseman goes to.
Yeah, go to Dustman's Cairn. Go to Dustman's
okay.
Cairn. It's right by Dustman's Cairn. So what I did is I wanted to try and challenge myself to take a unique land formation that was naturally defensible and try to use Tundra Defense to build a really sort of cool and realistic fortification around it.
So, and here we now have some of Stuart's interest in battle tactics from people such as Hannibal, I believe.
Oh, I loved Hannibal. Yeah.
Coming into the game of Skyrim.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Use your surroundings.
I know. When I was in junior high school, I found a book. It was historical fiction on Hannibal. And
That guy was a genius.
I read it 5 or 6
seriously.
times over. It's just incredible. So anyway, I got this set up, right? So I used all the parts I could and kind of just kept adding on to it as I went. And I built this really nice wooden palisade with a huge gate and all kinds of defense towers. And then I built a barracks and an office space and all this stuff where it was kind of a command center.
Nice.
And then from that location, I could use funds to bring on soldiers.
Right. Okay.
So in Tundra Defense, when you bring on soldiers, you can bring them on as stationary guards, as perimeter patrol, or interior patrol.
This sounds like a really nice mod.
Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. So what I did is I brought in a bunch of stationary guards, and I placed them, on the outcrop of rock. I've built 2 or 3 sizable watchtowers that I've got completely manned, and then I've got a patrol of 4 or 5 soldiers that are constantly doing a circuit inside the walls.
Nice.
Then outside the walls, I've set up a perimeter, and what you do is you put down markers like compass points, 1, 2, 3, 4,
okay.
in the pattern that you want them to march, and they'll march from marker to marker to marker.
Nice.
And they'll do
Oh,
a circuit,
cool.
right?
That's
Cool.
fantastic.
So then I've got exterior patrol. So the cool thing about this then is there's a neat option where you can upgrade your armory. And what it allows you to do is you can go around and individually change the gear of each soldier, or you can upgrade the armory further and it gives you a chest, and you just drop the gear into the chest and then all your soldiers take on that gear, whatever you put in, right?
Very nice.
So I outfitted every soldier in heavy Imperial armor, all the
nice.
same, all matching bows and stuff.
Perfect.
And they all have the standard medium helmet on, but my followers have the officer's helmet on.
Oh,
and
cool.
then Shullat wears the full-faced helm with the comb on top.
Oh, nice.
And so now I've got my full army, right? And so then what I did is I took
Great use of the mod.
I know, right?
Great use.
Uh-huh. So then I took Soku's guild starter, and I dropped my marker right inside the walls, and then I started recruiting people to the guild marker. And then when they came to the guild marker, I individually outfitted them as scouts. So
Very cool.
set them up in kind of a lighter type of an armor.
Right, or mobile.
More mobile armor, kind of like rangers and scouts. And so they're the ones who are going out on missions, and they're going on goodwill missions, and they're bringing back treasure.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they're doing all
yeah,
these
yeah.
things,
Perfect.
Right? Yeah. So that's kind of how I put things together.
Cool.
And then my followers, through amazing follower tweaks, I've got them all on horses. So all of my immediate followers serve as cavalry. And then what I did is once I got that set up, man, I started hitting the raids, and the bandits came, and it was raid after raid after raid. The hillside would be on fire, battle going on everywhere. It was
Very
just,
nice.
it was really amazing.
Cool.
And I set up outposts along the road leading to Dustman's Cairn, so that I have some barricades set up down there, and I have sentries that are kind of manning a point down there, like a checkpoint. So they're checking people as they come up the road.
Oh, cool.
And it's been really amazing. Now the issue I'm having at this point is if Shullat is the character who is going to be my harbinger candidate. Now I'm thinking through all the possibilities of what is going to be the turning point in this character's life,
right?
That is going to take him away from the Emperor's Anvil and push him towards the companions.
Yeah, because they're a lot more Stormcloak centric.
Well, not even that.
Maybe
so
not
much.
a lot, but sympathetic.
What they are to me is they're the antithesis of the type of warrior that Shullat is. They have a giant clubhouse where they sit around and they drink and they party.
I like the companions,
right? and then if somebody hires them, they'll go out and do some fighting. He
they're
looks
honor
at them,
bound, but they're a lot less structured.
Right. They claim to be about honor in combat, but they're very, very loosely structured. And that's the opposite of what Shullat is about.
Yeah, he's highly structured right
Right.
now.
So what I decided to do is, rather than trying to rush this decision, I put Shullat on hold while I think this through.
Well, too, and to speak some of the earlier points from previous podcasts is there may very well be something in game that helps steer you.
There may be, and
you won't know that until you come across it.
Well, one thought I had too is, and I'm leaning more and more toward this, is that in good stories, usually what happens is, you're setting up a situation, right, where the character thinks he knows what he wants.
Right.
And he pursues whatever that thing is, and what it ends up doing is not turning out like they want and forcing an even greater change, right? And I think that's what makes a good story is character change in ever more severe situations, right?
So really, it sounds kind of like you're rapidly approaching the second act.
I think so, because
when things take an unexpected, tragic turn, if for lack of a better term.
He's had a tragic turn already, right? With
the losing of his company.
Yep, he lost his first company. Now he's come back from that. He's built this thing up. He feels like he's made up for that mistake.
Right.
And I feel like what we're doing now is we're upping the ante, and it's for him to go from a situation where he is completely devoted to the Imperials, into the Emperor, to say, okay, I'm going to back off this and I'm going to go this other route. There's got to be some huge monumental thing that's going to happen to make him have that kind of a shift, in my view. So I'm trying to set up a situation where that'll make sense for me, and I don't want to force the issue. No.
Yeah. Let it happen.
Yep.
I mean,
I was
it
gonna
will.
say, it sounds like it's going to happen.
Yeah. One of the things I've been toying around with is the idea of just getting him out there on the battlefield, and then having just basically setting up tundra defense so that I'm getting wave after wave of the most difficult crushing attacks from bandits, and see how that ends up. To me that
Can you lose your guards and your people?
Yeah.
Oh, so if you lose enough of them, that might stir you one way or another. Yeah.
Yep. When there's an attack, I have soldiers die all the time, and I've got on the hillside outside the Emperor's
are
Anvil.
you burying them?
There's a bunch of gravestones.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's
I mean,
very cool.
Yeah. What if you have a situation where once again, it happens again, but on a much larger scale? What does the weight of all that responsibility do? Right.
So
who knows?
And just as a reference, when you're creating the tombstones, that's clean up your corpses.
Clean up your corpses.
It's a mod that allows you to bury or bring dead to a funeral pyre. It depends on the options. It's actually it's got a menu that where you can choose a lot of different options.
It also allows you to do some pretty sick things.
It does.
So, really?
Oh,
which I haven't.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
There are. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking about your character.
Yeah.
I mean,
she may turn darker.
Right.
But yeah, and just as a general note, we don't usually. I mean, we're not about reviewing mods.
No.
But we do use mods, and I guess when we go into depth about them, like you did with Tundra Defenses, it's because it's adding. It's how we use them to add our story.
Right.
There's a lot of mod reviews out there, a lot of really good ones.
Right.
So we're not going to get into the skinny of that, but.
No, but if you're playing the vanilla game and you don't know where the improvements can come in, right? I mean, the world of everything that's out on Nexus is humongous. How would you know where to start unless someone said, this really worked for me, this really improved my story?
Well, yeah, and that's kind of where we're at.
Because I wouldn't
this
think
is
about
what we
worrying
use,
about burying
and
my
this is
dead.
how we use it. And, whether it's conventional or not. I mean, your use of Tundra Defense is somewhat unconventional, considering how, in general, most people seem to use it. So
yeah, and I can't even tell you, since experimenting with this mod and seeing what it's capable of, I can't even tell you all of the interesting and twisted ideas I've got for how to use this. I mean, it's really
I look forward to hearing more about them.
Interesting and twisted.
It is really amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, we do use the mods a lot for a variety of reasons, and almost every single one of them is to improve our gameplay.
Correct.
As a story, as the story is related.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I plan on talking about this mod actually a little bit more in our play theory segment, among other things.
Yeah, it sounds
really
good.
Yeah, in a play theory segment tonight, we're going to be talking about building your own side quest. So stick around. So in tonight's play theory segment, we're talking about creating your own side quest. And when we talk about creating your own side quest, we're not talking about going into Creation Kit and actually making a quest. We're talking about the simple act of looking at some of the things that the game presents to you and putting together your own impromptu missions. And this is a great sort of discussion to have, especially on the heels of our last episode when we talked about, traveling with intent, right? Where you're,
Oh yeah, right.
This kind of plays into that a little bit.
For sure.
It helps to reinforce that.
Yeah.
So let me start the discussion by giving you an example. So I had a character. I'm thinking now, what character was this? This was a warrior, Sagramor.
Oh, Zagmar.
Sagramor, yes, and
I like him.
yeah, Sagramor is depicted quite heavily on the website. In fact, he was the cover shot for quite a long time. But he's a Nord warrior, and so one of the things that kind of happened was in playing him, I maxed out my smithing skill. And I decided, I'm thinking, okay, I was actually really enjoying smithing, and I wasn't,
How many legendaries can you go?
I know, right? And so what I have since discovered is the beautiful mod Ellie's Uncapper, which I use religiously now.
Oh, okay.
Which takes the level cap off skills.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, but prior to that, I was using just kind of the standard vanilla skill progression. You can go
Right.
to legendary, right?
Right.
So I had gotten his smithing skill up to level 100, and at that point, I mean he's a warrior. I was still needing to build things, still trying things out and stuff like that. So I'm doing all this smithing. I'm gathering all this gear, and I'm not getting any credit
Right,
for
because
it.
you're up to like
Yeah.
105, 110.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
nothing. I mean, really,
Yeah.
at that point.
And what was happening with me is I was investing a lot of time in smithing, but I was never going beyond 101. It was just stop there, no further progression.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay?
I see. I've had characters where, like in Sneak, I've gotten up to, I don't know, 105, 108 or something.
See, now,
because
I
I wasn't
was-
paying attention, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I was never able to do that.
I'm getting so
here.
good I didn't
So,
even know it.
Yeah.
I'm so stealthy. I can't even hear.
I can't hear myself. Am I talking too loud right now? I can't hear myself. Sorry.
Womp mod.
But so then I thought, okay, well, maybe I can go legendary on smithing. And so one of the options that you have in Skyrim is when you take a skill all the way up to level 100, you can switch it over to legendary. And when you do that, all of the perk points that you spent in that skill are basically given back to you in a pool.
Ooh.
And then the skill level on that skill drops to 15. It's like starting over. It's like starting over from scratch. And one of the things that's always bugged me about that is it just from a role-playing sense, it's kind of, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Why is it that I can create all this advanced gear and now suddenly,
Drop back.
I'm at 15 again? So what I did is
I forgot how to do a steel dagger.
yeah, I know what happened. Yeah, I made a whole suit of Daedric armor, and now I can't make a steel dagger. It's so lame.
Well, a swift bash to the head with a mace will do that to you.
I guess.
Well, along with a few other things.
Yeah.
So there needs to be an anti-amnesia mod.
Yeah. So for me, it was about coming up with some kind of a way to explain what was happening. So
Okay.
I created a little side quest where I said, okay, I'm going to reset it to legendary. And to me, what this is going to be is Sagramor has basically decided that he is going to take the craft to a new level. And one thing to understand about Sagramor is he's a devout worshiper
Hermaeus Mora,
of
isn't it?
Hermaeus Mora. And he has a
God,
whole...
that's a creepy place.
I know, right? Yeah.
Oh, just wait, Matt.
the
I have
realm
no idea what you're
of
talking
Hermaeus
about.
Mora.
Oh, just wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I avoid
it'll
it
be-
like the plague?
You won't be able to, but it'll be a
Okay.
while.
All
yeah.
right.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about the thing that's
No,
making
I
before.
hate that
Don't
place.
worry.
You're
Oh
doing
my
a little
God.
man
Worry
crying right now.
about
I don't know
it.
what's going on.
Don't worry about it. I love Hermaeus Mora.
Whenever
but-
anybody says "don't worry about it," my first thought is, I think I better go there right now.
No, you don't want to go to Apocrypha right now.
As
Not
a
yet.
level 3?
No.
Come on.
I wouldn't recommend it.
What could go wrong?
The lurkers will eat you.
Everything.
Everything.
Everything will go badly.
Can you imagine,
Exactly.
though? I would have like 3 hours of stuff to talk about next time if I went.
Oh my god.
No, you wouldn't, because you'd die like within.
Well, then I
But
died.
there's got to be a sort of
then I
world
died.
record
And then I
for the
died.
number of times you
and then
died, right?
And then I died again. And then I fell into the acid and I died.
and then I got bitch slapped by a tentacle and died. I mean, it's like one
And
thing
then a
after
lurker
another.
came up and I
then
died.
He ate my head off. Yeah. So
Yeah, no, no. You can't even get there until you get to Solstheim anyway.
All right.
So.
yeah,
No.
exactly.
But
But
to build up to
Apocrypha's awesome.
Apocrypha's awesome, and it kind of played into my story pretty well because, Hermaeus Mora is the purveyor and hoarder of knowledge, right? I mean, he's all about acquiring knowledge. That's kind of
It's
what he
getting
gets
it out
off
of him.
on, right?
There's the trick.
Exactly. So the way I played this was that he is trying to take this skill to a new level. So I set it to legendary, and then the first thing I did was embark on that whole quest where you return the lexicon and you acquire the perk Ancient Knowledge, which gives you a 20 or 25% bonus on smithing. Are you familiar with that one? It's a quest that you pick up on the pier in Riften from a crazy Argonian who gives you a Dwemer lexicon, and she tells you to return it to where she got it from because she can't bear to go back.
Oh, I know I've done that, but
Yeah.
God, it's been so long.
Right.
I don't remember anything about
Yeah.
it.
Right. So from his
I really
perspective,
don't.
I mean, the whole thing was sort of like, okay, ancient knowledge, we're going to acquire this knowledge. This is what Hermaeus Mora would want us to do, right? It's doing this whole thing, right? And it starts with ancient knowledge. So I went and did that quest, and I did it with intent, right? So I said, I'm going to do this thing. I've got the lexicon in my inventory. I'm going to do some research on where this location is I need to go. I packed up my gear to prepare for a long slog through a Dwemer ruin in underground. And then I went and did that mission. And then at the end, I acquired this bonus, Ancient Knowledge. So the way that I played that is, okay, I've read and understood the lexicon, and now I've been infused with a completely new understanding of how the craft of smithing can be done based on how the ancient Dwemer did it. I've suddenly got this gift that I didn't have before,
okay.
right? And then
Right.
at that point, I said, now I'm going to take ancient knowledge. I'm still only level 15 now in smithing,
Right,
but I've acquired this new knowledge that's going to help me grow beyond, right? And then I just did a tour of Skyrim on horseback and hit every single blacksmith in all of Skyrim.
We've talked about
in a
this
giant loop.
offhand, or
Yeah.
off air or whatever. And we've talked about this, and
Yeah.
I still have yet to do that, just because I don't. For me, I don't have the patience to go tour and find every
Oh.
smithing. It's hard because they're all over. And
Can you leave markers and stuff?
but well,
Oh,
I
no.
mean, you know where they are. It's just
well,
you know where they are.
What I did is, see, I acquired ancient knowledge, right?
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Ignorance is bliss.
Hey, I just attempted to try to go
As,
into the
as
worst
an
part of the
ignorant
world
person, that's
as
not
a
true.
level 3, right?
Right. Yes. What I like to say is ignorance is this. I'm thumb pointing at myself
Oh,
when I say
yeah.
that. But
Oh yeah.
so, you know,
but that's a great
yeah.
way to not only
Right.
just gather skills in a certain, whether
Yeah.
it's smithing or alchemy or archery, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a great way to experience and
Yeah.
gather skills in a whole wide range of stuff.
right. Well, you have to understand also that by the time I reset smithing, at that point, Sagramore was well on his way to level 60.
Right.
So by this point, I had a home that was with chests in it that were laden with building materials, right? With all the materials I
for
needed.
Sure.
So I completed that quest, went back to the house, and then I loaded up my horse as if it were a pack horse with all the materials I had. And then basically to simulate that this was a pack horse, I walked and had the horse follow me. and then I plotted a course that took me through every city in Skyrim, and I visited every blacksmith along the way.
Well, see, in this case, it makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense because, you've had this epiphany.
Yep.
And now you're going to go visit all of these
Yep.
people to I don't know.
Learn their
to-
secrets.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah.
You're
I
learning
mean,
their
build
secrets.
upon this new knowledge. So in this case, it makes complete sense to make that big circuit.
You
Yep.
almost wouldn't want to do anything else
Yep.
if that was the biggest
No,
thing
because
that happened to you. Yeah.
I've just acquired this godly type of
Yeah.
touch of knowledge,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
now I need to go and see what everyone has to say so I can use what they know.
Yep. To
Exactly.
me, it was sort of like the light bulb goes on, and now
Yeah.
now I'm able to see things in a
And
new light.
maybe that
so-
was my problem, or still is. I just haven't reached a point in my game, my role
Mm-hmm.
play, where I haven't been able to weave that into the story
Yeah.
so that it makes sense to do that.
Yeah. Well, to me, creating that side quest was a reaction. It was
Well,
a
yeah,
reaction to
no,
solving a
it's
problem.
actually perfect.
Right. I had a role play
Yeah,
problem.
and I don't have a need for
Yeah.
that side quest right now.
Exactly. But so anyway, the way that it turned out was I did the circuit. I started in Riften and I went all the way around. And until at the time, I had a player home that was in the forest, not far from Iverstad. So starting in Riften, I went all the way around and ended up in Shorestone. That was the very last
Okay.
smith that I hit. And basically what I wanted to do was simulate him training. Not all of these smiths are trainers.
Right.
So what I would do is I would go to their smithy and I would bring my materials in and I would create items. I would just create items until I was out of materials, and then I would hunt and I would buy and I would mine and load up the horse and go to the next destination and do it all over again. And so it sounds plodding and it sounds tedious, but the adventures I had along the way were amazing because I was attacked by bandits and I fought
for sure.
Forsworn and I fought dragons and all these things were happening. And by the time I got back to my home, it was probably the equivalent of 2 weeks of travel in game.
Wow.
And I was back up to over level 80 in smithing at that
Right.
point. And it bought back most of my perks.
Well,
So,
it plays well into
Mm-hmm.
the need for all those adventures. I mean, you've exhausted your supply.
yeah. Yes.
You need to go get more.
Mhm.
And along the way, of course, you're going to hit pad people that don't want you
Right.
to have more because
Yes.
they want more.
Yep.
And you have more of what they want.
And you know, there were several times when I had to go well out of my way toward
Oh,
the
for
next
sure.
destination, not only to get out of harm's way, but to also take all the stuff that I had acquired to the nearest smelter so that I could break it down into
Oh, yeah,
components
yeah.
that I could use.
Right.
And not all the blacksmiths have a smelter near them.
No, they do
so
not.
quite often I'd go
Which is
off
weird,
the beaten
but they do
path
not.
and stuff like that to find a smelter. So it was just a great
I know
experience for me to end,
there's
so.
there's at least one. I'm sure there's several mods
Mm-hmm.
that will add smelters to a variety of locations.
Yeah.
I do have one that just adds a single one to Solstice, or not Solstice, but Solitude.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So that's incredibly useful. But I know there's one. There's at least one. I can't remember the name of it that adds it to several places where it just
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's neither
Yeah.
here nor there.
Yeah.
That adds to the adventure. I mean,
Yeah.
here's a blacksmith. Maybe all he's doing is fixing horseshoes.
Right.
Why does he need a smelter?
Yeah. I
mean,
know.
Really?
But anyway, so that's what I'm talking about when I mean what I'm saying. Build your own side quest, right? So we're not doing game content in terms of side quests that are presented to us. We're using the game to kind of create our own mission, and we carry it out.
Right,
And in some
right.
way, it's based on whatever drives our character, right?
So you have an end
So it's-
goal. You have
Yeah.
have your out there. This is where I
Mhm.
want to go.
Yep.
And basically, you're building a way to get there
Yeah. Absolutely. That's
based on the game.
that's
If
certainly
I
one way
need
to do it.
smithing, I know there's a few mines along the way I need to go visit, and there's
All
going
of
to be
them.
bandits in the way.
Yep.
And there's going to be a point where I'm going to have way too much ore, so I need to smelt it down. So now I got to go
Yep.
find one of those.
Yep. And obviously, this is something that's a little bit easier to do once you understand a lot more about what's available in game. So
Yes.
you can set up a situation where, you know, if you're feeling like if you're trying to create a character turning point, you can identify an individual in game who's across the map from you that you can sort of target as the individual you have a beef with, or, you know, something
Or
like
someone
that.
you need to learn
right?
something with.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
right.
Calcimo.
Yeah, exactly. It could be something like that. You know, you're going to go find the old mage who knows XYZ about,
Right,
you know,
right.
whatever it is.
Or alchemy, I need a certain ingredient. I need crimson nern root.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you there's only one place you'll find that.
Yeah. Yes. A deep, dark, dangerous place, but you'll find it. So.
But yeah, no, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's very cool. It's a good way to
Mhm.
deal with otherwise a somewhat of a hindrance in the game.
Yes. Right. And it also plays into this concept we talked about in episode 5 of weakness and limitation,
Right.
where you have a particular thing that is a hook for your character or an item of interest for your character. And you can identify something in game that would resonate with that character and then go after it as if it were a mission, or string some things together in Skyrim that makes sense. You know, stuff like that.
Right.
So,
Now, as a beginning player, any kind of thoughts? I mean,
Well, understanding where
your
you can even
character?
go is really challenging, right? Because you don't
Well,
know what all
right,
the
right.
capabilities are. I mean, in the beginning, I would not have even known that I
Right.
needed to go off and start gathering stuff and getting wolf
Yes.
pelts and doing all that stuff before I could even start doing any leather work,
right.
you know, or
Right.
anything else, right? So it takes a while to understand that once you get up a certain skill level, that even if you can get some, you know, amazing status with it and then drop it down, you've learned everything along the way, right? In the journey, you know more about what the next possibility is just because you've wandered through it.
Right.
You know, and I think that you find that if you drive somewhere, right? Even if you get vaguely familiar with an area, you know what's there, you know what you're going to run into while you're there. In this kind of a
Right.
case, because you're walking
Right.
or riding a
Right.
horse or in the back of a
Right.
cart,
Right.
it's going by at a pace where you can stop
Yep.
and learn. And in
Right.
a case where you're going to travel the entirety of Skyrim and visit every smithing outfit, right? I mean,
Yep.
you're interacting with everybody in every town.
Right.
Yep.
You know.
And you're only going to do that, as you've alluded to, if you know the area.
Yeah, because right
you're,
now I'm
you're
just
not
trying
going to go
protect
visit a
myself,
smith you
right?
don't know exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So-
what point does it make for me to say, oh, hey, I visited everybody, right? That's like
Yep.
calling people randomly from just dialing your phone, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
give you anything. Because
No,
at the end
right.
of the day, you've got
Yeah.
you've got to get something out of the journey here.
Right.
And that's where I think it's really cool, because if you look at what I don't know now, you guys have probably forgotten way more than I think is an amazing amount of knowledge, right? That's completely
No,
ridiculous.
actually, no. This is great though, because of where you're at. It's a great reminder of some of those things that we may have forgotten about,
Yeah. Exactly. You know,
or
'Cause a-
taken,
'cause a side
or
quest to me
assumed,
is
or taken
survival.
advantage. You know,
Yeah,
we just take
right.
it for granted, or
uh-huh.
no.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I
That's
really
why-
enjoy having your perspective as a beginning player.
And that's why every new thing that I see, you know, you slay a bandit or you kill an animal, you don't know what pieces of that
Oh yeah,
corpse you need to collect, so you get all of it.
you get all of it, or
Yep.
you sneak up on everyone because you don't know if you should trust
Yeah.
them, or you
Yeah.
shoot someone with a bow that you actually needed to talk to because you
Yeah.
assumed they were
Oh my
bad.
God.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't tell how many mistakes I made like that.
Shitballs.
It's like, oh, there's a person up ahead.
Yeah.
Kill.
I'm gonna shoot him with my bow.
I'm going to practice
Yeah,
from this far away.
right.
Well,
And
think
turns
about
out
this
you need
though.
'em.
Think about this. The side quest, if we want to give it a name. It's not a Skyrim side quest, it's our own side quest.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of scale. And maybe when you're a new player, you bring the scale down and you link it to your role-playing ideas. So you say something like, my character has a daddy complex, right? Dad hated my guts. He thought I was good for nothing. And he always used to say to me, you're a worthless piece of crap, you know, and you know, you'll never amount to anything. So my side quest is, on some psychological level, I'm going to try to prove him wrong. And to do that,
I'm creating a tiny mission for myself where at level 5, I'm going to kill a mammoth. I'm going to find a way, and I'm going to kill a mammoth.
Something just ridiculous.
By the way, I heard about that.
Something
as well.
hard.
Yeah,
Something hard, right? Like
you
that.
can take them down,
golf.
but if they hit you once or twice, game over.
Yeah. Well, think about
Especially
it,
at
though.
that level.
Think about it, right? So you're say a level 5 character, and you want to bring down a mammoth to prove that you can do this, right?
You're a man.
That you're not
Mammoth.
that you're not a piece of crap,
I'm a
right?
man.
My daddy was wrong.
But think of the fun position that puts you in, right?
For sure.
So now you're in Whiterun, you know where the creatures are, and now you got an opportunity, right? You can go out and watch them, you can observe, you can learn things about their habitat and how they operate, and about giants. And then,
well, yeah, because
right?
not long
Yeah.
behind them are giants.
Exactly.
And they will send you in the sky, literally.
Exactly. And so then you go back to Whiterun and you say, okay, I'm going to get the best bow I can, and I'm going to make like 1,000 arrows, and I'm going to make some poison and a bunch of stamina potions, so I can run like
Blast.
crazy when
that giant comes after my ass with that big ass bone club.
Exactly. But I love this idea because you go out there and you don't just go out there and start plucking away at the thing. You look at the lay of the land and you
there's a
say,
reason.
how can I be smart? How can I draw this creature into a situation that is to my advantage? And then you work your plan.
And you're going to plan your way to do it because you're going to prove Daddy wrong. right?
Exactly.
And that's where having an objective
Yes.
and really a psychological profile that
Yep.
says I have a reason to do this other than, oh, I'm going to level up.
Well, I mean, outside of that, it is very possible that maybe you've got the character who doesn't think ahead.
Yep.
He just runs headlong into it because he's got a point to prove.
That's
like
true
the guy who
too.
drops
I mean,
all of
that's
his
it's
clothes
very
in a barrel.
possible. He might get brought to an inch of his life and then realize he'd better get the hell out of there.
What was
Yeah.
I thinking?
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there's that option too.
Or think of the role play possibilities if, like you're saying,
But you learn.
It's a type of character,
character
right?
learns.
He's a dumb kid. He goes out and he starts this thing, and then, he
Realizes he's in way too deep.
way over his head, and he runs back to town. And who's on his tail but 2 dragons and 2 mammoths, or two
giants
giants
and-
and 2 mammoths, and he gets back to town, right? And then even though the game doesn't punish you for a stupid action like that,
No, the guards
You
will
will-
come to your
you'll do it
rescue
yourself.
if you get them close enough.
you
Oh,
can
really?
Yeah.
you can punish yourself in a role playing sense because you put the whole town in jeopardy,
Birch branches.
right? Yeah, it's a little self-flagellation, right? Yes. A little. So, yeah, that's when you take the opportunity to say, okay, what does this mean from a role play sense? How do
Right, right.
And then how do I
do you
not do
play
it
it up?
again?
Where do you go from there?
Right.
What did you learn?
It's about writing
Yeah,
the
did
next
you learn?
chapter in some
Or
ways.
do you go back
So,
out
Yeah.
and maybe probably die this time?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep. So
Or get out there within an inch of your life and do it again and realize
Right.
2 times equally stupid. Now time to go improve on
see,
something.
again, to your point, the game will let you do that, but as a role play standpoint, do you let your character do that?
Yeah. Right.
So, Joe, have you done anything in your games that you would sort of characterize as a side quest with some of your characters like this?
Oh, I'm sure I have.
You know
Let me
what?
think.
One comes to mind is with Grimal, when you started recruiting orcs.
Oh yeah, that's a gosh.
Talk to us about this a little bit.
I-
I thought this was intriguing. Now, if you remember, we had talked about Grimal in a previous
absolutely.
episode.
Grimal's one of my favorites. He's actually, I don't know if he's my first character, but he's definitely one of the first
Yeah.
within the top 3.
Yeah, and he's the one who was sort of had this mania about orcish weapons being
Yes.
only for orcs and certain
Yep.
people having
No one
to
else can have them.
deserve to use them.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that was sort of a cultural thing. So how
Correct.
you played this out as a side quest in other ways, though? How did you do that?
I did, yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. I collected anything I found that was orcish and brought it back to. This is a mod. It's called Adalmatar or Adalmatar. I'm not sure.
I think it's a Dalmatar. It's a quest mod, right?
ADAL.
Yes.
MATAR.
Yes, and it's made by a modder named Mad Frenchie who does 3
Yeah,
or 4
it's a
of
wonderful
these quest
mod,
mods.
and
Yeah.
he's a quality modder.
Yeah.
But it's a player home essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more than that. What it does is it builds a stronghold.
Okay.
There's an orc stronghold and a small quest that goes with it. I don't know if it's a quest, but it's more than just discovering
Right.
the stronghold. There's something to it. It's kind of fun.
You have to kind of go through a little story.
Yeah,
before
it's a story. It's not
Okay.
necessarily a quest, but there's a storyline to it. And
Okay.
and so you get this stronghold, and so I got this thing, and great. There was 1 or 2 NPCs that came with it,
Okay.
and so this is now my stronghold, and this is where I started to put all my orc weapons and armor and orc items that I found from other people. And so as the person that is now, the chieftain of this stronghold, you're really not much of a chieftain if there's only 2 people there in a building, or a couple buildings. I mean, so what?
Right.
Great, I discovered this ghost town. I'm the ruler of this ghost town.
There will be no one before me.
Yeah, so
The Tenpenny King.
so to your point on the personal side quest, I took it upon myself, using amazing follower tweaks, was to go out, and as I adventured and came across orcs that I thought were worthy or had something to offer, they struck a chord with me, more or
Right.
less.
Yeah.
I would use amazing follower tweaks, and I would make them follow me and bring them back to my stronghold. And I slowly started to populate my stronghold with orcs, because when I got to this stronghold, I would tell them to hang out.
Right.
Basically, I would, using amazing follower tweaks, I'd dismiss them.
So you dismiss but hang out here.
Correct.
Is the option, I think. It's
So I had a whole pile of these orcs, including some from Worm's Tooth.
Oh, okay.
From
From that expansion.
Yeah,
That's
it's
It's like an
essentially a
expansion.
DLC.
Yep.
But from the mod Worm's Tooth, there was at least one of the orcs. I don't remember his
Yeah.
name, but I recruited him via amazing follower tweaks, brought him back to Skyrim, dismissed him in my stronghold, and I did that with a number of orcs.
So how many orcs do you think you had like populating your stronghold then? When you
At that point, I think and I'll have to look for sure, but I believe the mod defaulted to no more than 2. 1, maybe 2, but at least 1 orc. And the last playthrough on that game, I think I probably had at least 8 to 10.
Okay.
So I had a fair number of orcs roaming around outside, and
Your
a
own
few
little
inside.
private horde.
It's my my own little stronghold.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty cool though.
yeah, so
I
when
love that.
when I found an orc that I thought would be a good fit for my stronghold, I would conscript them and bring them back.
It's almost like Grimal has this sort of zealous approach when it comes to just orc civilization and culture and stuff like that. Like he's dedicated himself
Absolutely.
to building the bigger and better tribe, and he's handpicking who he thinks
Everybody.
are the best people, and he's inviting them back.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure.
To the homeland.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. I love that.
From smiths to anyone and everyone.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
And yeah, that's all that was there. There were no other races. There were only orcs that I brought back.
I just think that's really cool, though.
So-
And it's not that different, than what I was doing with.
No,
the
it's just a
Emperor's
different
Anvil.
means of doing so. I didn't
Exactly.
at that point. I did not have guild starter, so I didn't have the advantage of leveraging some of the easier ways of doing it.
Well, and amazing follower tweaks allows you to have many, many, many followers.
Yeah,
And
there is a cap to it. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but it's a lot.
Yeah.
It really is.
Certainly enough to do what you were
It
doing.
was it was a lot of fun. It was fun to,
cool.
to come back and
Yep.
I brought in a smith and I dropped her off up at the smithing station, and that's where she stayed, and
Yep.
so it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
The game got a little kludgy on me towards the end, so I don't know if I'd be able to pick it up because
Right.
I don't know what happened. It just got. I don't think it got corrupted, but it just started to get a little flaky. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't know if I picked them up, I'd have to probably go way back
Uh-huh.
and start
Yeah, that
some
happens.
stuff over.
Overloaded
But
with characters.
Yeah, sometimes
well,
your
possibly.
thing.
your
Yeah.
saved game gets gummed up after a while too. Sometimes,
Well, especially
you're-
if you start getting into a heavily modded game, which at that point I was starting to really include
Yeah.
a lot of mods without
Yep.
doing a lot of research and knowing entirely what I was doing. So chances are I probably did a few things wrong, and
Yep.
it happens.
Well, that's a little bit. That's an example of a side
But
quest.
yeah,
that
no, I think it fits great with what we were talking about.
enforces your character's personality
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
whole the weaknesses and limitations that you outline for your character,
Right.
which is this sort of
In this
xenophobic attitude towards a lot of the other races, and this
Right.
kind of orcs need to stick with orcs
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
he was
attitude. So
a strict
think that's good.
believer and follower of Molag Bal.
oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially after, that really started during the one quest. And what stronghold is it with the unworthy chieftain?
Oh yeah, I forget.
But you got to go get the main or
Yeah.
the big club or whatever the hell it was.
I think the chief's Yamars.
something like that.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. So
You gotta
his that character's zeal really started at that point.
Right.
Because he had this deity of the orcs, not just deity, but specifically an orc deity.
Oh, you're talking about Malakath.
Malakath, not Molag Bal.
Yeah, Malakath.
I'm an
Malakath
idiot.
is the
Malakath. God,
okay.
it's been a long time since I played the character.
if you're-
Obviously,
if
but
you're playing,
yes,
if you're
Malakath.
playing an orcish character and you go through that side quest, and you have the deity who is traditionally the deity of the orcs actually speaks to you during that quest.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
That is a huge mover, I
So
think, for a
that
character.
was
so
a
that
big
makes a lot of
turning
sense.
point, and
Yeah,
I feel
a lot of sense.
completely idiotic for
Butchering the name.
not just butchering, but completely getting the wrong deity.
Yeah.
Molag Bal is completely different.
Yeah, I was thinking, were you a vampire? Or what?
Yeah,
I don't
no,
remember
no,
that. You know,
no, that
No.
was actually I think he was
was he?
at the end. I think he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
He didn't get his healing potion.
I guess not.
No, he didn't. Well, that was still when I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of doing a lot of feeling out of the game.
Right.
And when I ran into Serana and
Oh
all of
yeah, that's
that.
right. Because
Yeah.
you palled around with Serana for quite a
yeah,
while, so
yeah, kind of had the hots
she's-
for Serana.
part of that whole vampire quest
Yeah.
line thing. So
I actually
Okay.
think that character. I think he actually married her.
I think you're right. I'm pretty sure you were sending me text messages.
Love texts, love texts about Serana. Yeah, she's kind of hot, but
Dang, she's hot.
um,
What
that's shortly after I discovered the marryable Serana mod.
oh, okay.
Otherwise, you can't marry her.
It's all
There
explained
are mods
now.
for marrying people.
Yeah, because some
There are
characters,
mods for everything.
Well,
some characters you cannot marry. So people have found ways around that.
Okay.
yeah, marriage is a part of the game standard, but there are some characters that are not marriage eligible, I guess.
Correct.
So, I always took that as they just
Now that's completely
had bad dowries. or
That's
something
really
like
out
that,
of
or-
character for that. That's out of character for that particular
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
But
Right.
at the time, I was kind of feeling out
Yeah.
some of the mechanics and the
Sure.
and the characters, and
Totally understandable.
so. But yeah,
Well,
no. As far as going out
yeah.
and recruiting orcs, yeah, that was kind of a side quest of his. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't active in it,
Mhm.
but it was always an option.
But it was something that you could if you wanted to. And
Yeah, like I say, it was an
Right.
option that he was always had in the back of his mind to
Yeah.
do.
the other thing that's intriguing to me about that is you could take something like that to the next level, right? And say, I've created my stronghold and I've handpicked these orcs who I think are worthy to live here. And maybe the next step is we, as a tribe, are above and beyond
in terms of the other orc tribes. We're better. We're better in every
yeah.
way.
Time
so
to start assuming the
let's-
other tribes.
Let's
make a nation.
Let's start waging war, right? So you saddle up with your followers,
Yep.
and you go along to the nearest orc stronghold, and you go in there and say, okay, who's interested, who's not? This is your choice. You either come with us or you die. And then what happens? I mean, what happens if you take
right.
all your followers and attack another orc stronghold and basically annex it?
Yeah, that's.
Why not?
I mean,
Why not?
you could do that. Yeah, you could. I think it would be a lot more interesting to come to a diplomatic and bring them in as an ally.
Mm-hmm. You
You
can do
know.
that too.
Okay, so you've got your own nations, but I mean your own tribes, but you're all one nation.
Sure.
So I
That
don't
would
know
be
how
an
you,
interesting.
I don't know how
sort of
you would
meta
do that
quest, right?
I don't know how you do that
Yeah.
mechanically in the game, but
Well,
I think
imagine
that'd be a lot of fun.
Imagine this, right? You're looking at yourself as kind of the orc overlord, right? You're
Right.
the guy who's going to come back and save the race and make the orcs respectable. So automatically, and more than likely, you're probably the dragonborn too, right? So you view yourself as being sort of this chosen one. So you march into that orc stronghold, and you make them allies by throwing down the guild starter marker, and you recruit them all as guild members. You send them out on missions, and then you come back every once in a while and you collect all their money as a tithe that they're paying to you
Right,
for being part of this group or for protection.
That's a
or
great
whatever
use
it is,
of that mod.
right?
Great use.
Do that,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Why
And then
not?
at some point, you can play it off as okay.
Mhm.
Now they're loyal. You
Yep.
pick up your marker and you go to the next one.
Yes. Now, another option also would be using something like Tundra Defense. You can use Tundra Defense to create your stronghold, but not only that, you can populate it with guards, and then once you populate it with guards, you can go in and select the race you want them to be.
Sure.
So you could select them
Oh,
all
nice.
orcs, you could outfit them in all orcish gear, and
This
you
is
could
kind of a really nice mod.
oh my gosh, it's it's pretty amazing. So
Not
I
gonna
can think of a lot of
fanboy
uses
too
for
much,
it.
but that
Yeah.
sounds like a really
Absolutely.
nice mod.
Well, here's another one I want to lay on you, and I've toyed around with this a little bit, and I sent you a kind of a cryptic text message a while back, or an email or something, where I was talking about whether or not there was a way using a console command to basically make an NPC character essentially defenseless, like a typical citizen, right?
Okay.
So
Yep.
essentially what you're doing is you're dialing down their courage so that when a fight happens, they do what any normal person would do, which is to run or hide or whatever, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now, I know
Right.
what yeah.
So what I love about this idea is, you take a character who's a high level character who maybe has a couple of followers, who's been around the block a few times and has a lot of experience, and you go someplace like Markarth, and you say, my job is I'm going to take on 2 or 3 followers that are basically defenseless priests, and my job is to escort them all the way
Yeah, and
from
this-
Markarth
sure.
to
This-
Riften.
This
right?
was
and not lose anybody.
and not lose
yeah.
anybody.
This was specifically towards Hinto, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
And
That would
your
be
your
really hard with Hinto.
Oh no! It was perfect though, because Stu's suggestion, which I think was brilliant, was to bring on an interpreter,
Oh,
a scholar, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
someone that could read him books
Right.
and teach him language. And this type of person is not an adventurer.
yeah.
This is a scholar.
It's
so
a scholar.
this pertains to bringing that person down in that courage aspect. So Hinton has every inclination to keep
Oh,
him
sure.
alive.
You're recruiting Jack Ryan, and you know it. He's just an analyst.
Well,
Right, but I mean, it gives a layer to the story that
Oh,
you would
for
never
sure.
Have gotten
No,
with Hinto
no,
otherwise,
and that's
right?
Yeah.
a great.
Because you're bringing along.
Yeah, because he's so
scribe
focused
and-
on something else, but
Yeah.
maybe runs into this person that kind of opens his eyes to another avenue.
Right.
Right, but it seems to me that Hinto doesn't really want to be burdened with some of that stuff. Not incapable, but just that isn't really that important to me. I'd rather focus on something else.
No, you're right. You're right. Right now, that is true. But that's not to say the story couldn't turn.
Right.
And
Yes.
he could come across this NPC that, changes his perspective
Yes.
and his outlook.
Yeah, the question is, what does a character like Hinto aspire to, and how can bringing on someone like this, a scholar, to accompany him, become not just a side quest, but a thing that's informative to who he becomes, right? So it's that kind
it's
of a
kind
thing.
of a weird comparison, but if you think to the Princess Bride and the Dread Pirate Roberts,
right.
It could be kind of something similar.
Mm-hmm.
Likely I'll kill you tomorrow, but
But I
Yeah.
need you today.
I need you today. So
Right.
Right.
Or think of this analogy too. It could be like Vikings. It could be like
the priest.
the English priest to the barbarian
Ragnar. Yeah.
right?
Right.
Where Ragnar is like, I'm interested in your culture. I'm interested in
It's
your
curiosity.
language. It's a curiosity, and
starts at least.
I'm holding you essentially captive.
Well,
but
you tell me everything.
Well, you tell me everything, and you teach me your language, and so forth. And I'm going to take on a certain amount of responsibility for your well-being in exchange.
because you have stuff I want
Exactly.
to know.
So if you did something like this
Right.
with Hinto, what I think would be cool to do then is you can craft side quests where you have, these missions you're going on, and now suddenly Hinto is in a position where he has to protect this individual, but maybe for his own personal reasons,
Right.
he's kind of at this point where I'm getting so much benefit out of this guy being
Right.
with me. I can't stand the idea of not
I
having
didn't
him
realize
here,
how
right?
much I didn't know.
Yeah, there's so much I didn't know. And if I let him go or I let anything happen to him, I'm going to basically be shooting myself in the foot. I need to keep him alive.
Right.
But see,
And
then there's your next twist in the story. When
Right.
that person is lost, what do you do?
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which is why you keep him
Yep.
Yeah.
alive. But in the case that you don't,
Yes.
then what?
Well, the other thing, too, is that
You go on a mad rampage.
maybe you do.
Hinto in berserker mode.
Yeah.
He'd be a good berserker, I think.
Yeah. I think it's
He'd
it's
die
time.
fast, but he'd be a good berserker.
It's time for me to rush the Whiterun guards, and just do myself in.
Yeah, Matt. Guards are tough. Don't rush the guards.
I've
Yeah.
just found that chatting with the guards is plenty for right now.
Okay.
Ask questions.
It's a good
Ask-
place to start.
Talk is good.
They always sort of look at me sideways.
Because
They're
if
like,
you
"What's
fight
up-
them, you will
what's up with
lose.
you? Why
Yeah.
are you here?
Uh-huh. Where's your sweet roll?
What city?
You look like a jerk. What's going on with you? I've never seen you here before. Why aren't you dressed?
Yeah. Well, that I love
Where are your
this idea,
clothes?
guys. I really love this idea. I think that, setting up a side quest like that, think of all the things that you could do, right? Either the character dies and Hinto has a transformative moment,
Right.
or the character survives because Hinto's protecting him,
Yeah.
and over time you use the tools that are available to you to ramp up his courage.
Right.
And in exchange for teaching Hinto how to read, he's learning how to fight, and he becomes
Right.
more of a viable follower, right?
Yeah, less
So-
master and more equal.
Exactly. And that's essentially what we see happening on a TV show like Vikings, where
Yeah,
he
yeah.
assimilates into the culture, and he becomes an accomplished fighter, and he completely transforms as a person.
Oh,
But-
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he holds on to some of his roots, but yeah, he's definitely not the same person that they
No.
took.
Exactly. So this is awesome.
I'm also
I love this
interested
idea.
to hear after all this conversation. I'm sure there's going to be lots of good questions
Mhm.
and feedback from folks. If I don't know where I'm going to take my character because I don't still have enough knowledge of
Yep.
what I don't know. There are lots of folks who are listening who do. I'd be interested to hear some or get some summaries from folks through our feedback forum.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to say about this topic. This is one that's going to come up a lot too, because every time we do our character craft segments, like we did today when I was talking about Tundra Defense, for example.
Right.
That's an example of basically a huge side quest I created for myself. I spent from level 10 to level 28 creating that fortress and doing all the fighting and all of that stuff that went along with it.
Thatching roofs.
Yeah. I mean, again, right? We've got a character now who's very close to level 30, who hasn't done any of the vanilla major quest content. So the opportunities are out there. You just have to look for different ways that you can use these mods. And I'm very excited about Tundra Defense. I've got some kind of interesting ideas about how I'm going to use it and adapt it for other character situations that we can talk about in future episodes. But this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, and just to tail on to the end of this is, just to remind everyone, Matt here is not using any mods
at all.
Stuart and I use we use a lot of mods.
Yeah,
we're on the PC. We mod our games, and if you're playing PC, chances are, if you're listening, you probably do too. But Matt, as a beginner, like some of you probably are, he's not running any mods. So don't be discouraged that I'm console or I don't have any mods on my PC game.
Right.
That's okay. We can work with that, and even though we mention them a lot during our discussions, the story is still the story.
Yes, it is.
And we'll definitely be speaking towards that group, and those of you that are concerned that I'm playing Xbox and I don't have any mod capabilities.
Right.
What can I do? We understand, we hear you, and we'll get to that. We absolutely will.
The smithing side quest, that can all be done vanilla. Okay, if you want to do the buddy escort type of mission, there are NPCs that walk all over Skyrim between point A and point B. You can find one and follow along with them, pretend you're being paid to do it.
Yeah.
It's just,
hire a mercenary.
Yeah, hire a mercenary.
Yeah. There's options.
Whatever, right? So there's a lot of options here. So.
Mods give you some flexibility that the vanilla game may not offer, but this it really and what we're trying to get at is it's all about story.
Yep.
So the story is the story, regardless of the platform you're playing on, and you can make it work.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we're all about here is making that work.
Absolutely.
I have a feeling that once I start doing mods, I won't want to go back to the vanilla game. So I'm in the grand scheme of things, I'm just trying to stay as vanilla as I can.
And I think that's great. I think it's a great place to start because you get appreciation and an understanding of the game. But I won't lie, there's a lot of really good mods out there.
Well,
that
you guys light up when you're like, ooh, I want to use this mod.
There's a lot of options out there that really can enhance your game
if you're
on the platform that allows it.
Mod to use, what would you use? If you had to go back to vanilla, everything else, what would be the first mod that you used?
Sky UI.
I think for me, it would be amazing follower tweaks.
Okay.
I could live without the UI updates as long as I could create as many followers as I wanted to and then use them how I wanted. I think AFT gives me the flexibility I would need to do quite a few of the different things that I've tried over the years. So.
Okay. And Joe, why Sky UI?
It offers a smoother game experience for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's definitely
it's less clunky.
A superior interface, that's for sure.
Okay.
So,
well, I will add those to the Post-it note list once I get there. Right? Maybe what I do is I keep Einar Stigandr the way
keep going
that he
where
is
you're
right
going
now.
and experience the game.
Yep.
And learn the mechanics as you've just recently done.
Yeah.
Clothing is good.
Yes,
armor's better.
Armor is important. Weapons are helpful.
And a wood axe is okay, but a hand axe is a hell of a lot better.
Way better.
Yeah.
Keep the wood axe though. Don't dump it off.
What do you mean? I can't cut down trees with a war?
Yeah, you'll have a tough time at the chopping block.
Okay.
Yeah, just not the right tool for the job.
Yeah, most chopping blocks, however, do have a an axe nearby.
Yeah, one
But see,
nearby
this is
that you
why
can use or
this is
steal.
why I hoard everything.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
you could jettison it and still be okay, but it's just kind of one of those nice to
like a
have.
5-year-old with toys right now. Everything is mine.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a great discussion. Dear listener, we certainly hope that you've gotten as much out of it as we have. Obviously, there is a lot that you can do with this game, with or without mods. Mods will give you a little bit extra control, which is certainly nice if you're trying to build on whatever that narrative is that you've got going on. But the game gives you all the opportunity in the world. So, for our next segment, we are going to be moving on to Crusader Mail, so stick around. We're back.
All right, coming up now, we've got Crusader Mail.
Crusader Mail, I love it.
Mail.
All right, we've been getting a lot of great submissions from our talkback section.
Dude, I'm super excited.
Oh God, and I just want to take this quick opportunity to really acknowledge the fan base, not just the fan base of the podcast here, but of the whole Couch Warrior world. I mean, really, I mean this we've been able to cultivate such an audience of respect, which first and foremost impresses the hell out of me. I'm gonna just be honest. In the world of social media, the ability to just go rogue and the anonymity that it allows you to just be bluntly a jackass, it's rampant.
Yeah, it is.
We don't have that.
Yeah, we're pretty
It's
lucky.
amazing. It
We're
really.
pretty lucky, so.
And it's not amazing, but it is. It's not amazing because of the people that follow.
We
but
know
it
who they
is
are
in
and the
general.
caliber of the character, but
So, thank you, people. Thank you, fans. Stuart, you built up a great base, and for those that haven't listened to Couch Warrior, have just started with the iTunes podcasts, you're in great company. You've come into a great community of people. You really have.
there's definitely some cool things that went on in the comment threads on YouTube during that series.
Thought-provoking,
some really amazing stuff. So,
and I'm not saying you have to agree, because I mean, a lot of people don't agree on one thing or another, but the way it's presented has just been so constructive and polite and
it's respectful.
And respectful.
It's respectful.
That's really that's I just love it.
Yeah.
I really do. I
do appreciate that.
I think it's great. So, in that vein, I really have not read through a submission through the forums where I've said, yeah, that's junk.
Oh, okay.
I have not seen a submission yet where I was like, yeah, that's bogus.
Well, that's a lot of work for you then, because
Here's somebody that's just
a lot of reading material.
screwing around.
Yeah.
They're
It's like
all
being the town
really
scribe, though, right? You get
Yeah.
everything. You
yeah.
have to read through everything.
They have been fantastic, every single one of them.
Well, what did you pick for us tonight then?
Well, let's start out with Cheeseburger 012. And Cheeseburger is wondering about cities.
okay.
They write, what to do in cities. There really isn't much to do besides chopping wood and looking through shops. Conversing with people isn't really varied enough for many and or long visits into cities. Mods to help me, etc. I mean, what kind of ideas can we offer Cheeseburger 012 to do in a city? Because he's right. When you go into a city, you're going there to sell some crap off. I don't care if it's Yorlin Greymane or
Smith stuff.
or whoever it is. I've got 10,000 iron daggers I need to get rid of.
Well,
Matt,
is Cheeseburger a modder? Do we know that or not?
he or she did not specify whether or not they're a modder.
Okay.
Can we start off with not modding too much? Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll assume with non.
Yeah.
Because they're right. There's really not.
Right.
I mean, you go into a city, you sell stuff, you buy stuff, you might talk to a jarl.
Yes.
But that's the reason maybe the city exists, right? So a lot of the other things
Yeah,
that
but
happen
it's a city.
outside of that right, but the excitement in these cases really isn't necessarily about the city.
No, it's
right?
not.
You
And I
go to
guess
the
maybe
city to-
that's their point. What do you do? What do you
You're not
make,
gonna go
what
to
do you
the
do to
movies.
make a city exciting?
Right.
Go
Well,
take a nap at the inn, right? That's excitement.
Yeah, I guess.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I love this question, and the reason that I do is because it presents a really unique challenge, right? Yeah, the stuff that the vanilla game gives you to do in a city is not really varied, but there are ways that you can overcome this by using mods, and then also just by your state of mind, right? So think of it this way. Earlier on when we were talking about the side quest with the smithing.
Yeah,
I visited
cities.
every city in Skyrim, and it was exciting to me because I was walking through the gates with a particular mission in mind.
Well,
I
travel with intent.
yes, travel with intent. I was looking for show me the smartest, best craftsman in town. Show me where I can scrounge for materials. Let me meet some locals who can, send me on short little quests outside of town to find more things that I need, right? I was going in very focused. So that's an example of mindset, and that could drive any number of different things, even in the vanilla game. But if we're able to add mods in, now we can get all kinds of other reasons why we would do this. And it can be economic. There are mods out there. There's a mod called Trade Routes, where it's all about being a merchant, where the province of Skyrim is divided into regions. Certain regions of Skyrim are very rich in some materials and are not in others. And what it allows you to do is take advantage of those economic shifts, right? So that I can go up to Markarth and I can mine silver really cheaply where there's a lot of it,
Wonderful,
right? And I can take it down to Riften and I can sell it for bigger money, right? So now I've taken the idea of buying and selling things to a new level, right? With a little bit of a twist. Now I'm doing more than just buying and selling. I'm actually comparing prices, and I'm setting up trade routes that allow me to really take advantage of these I don't know what you call
Resource
it.
economics.
Yeah, resource economics, right? Across the province, right?
And this is all within the base of the game. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's the trade routes mod. It kind of just takes a look at how natural resources are distributed across the province, and then kind of creates this economic.
Sure,
it creates an economic framework based on scarcity, supply and demand.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
So there's an advantage with being in a wooded area or an area that's better
sure,
for
yeah.
mining.
You've got lumber to sell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
So it is different. Like I can buy a silver ingot for relatively inexpensive. I can mine silver in Markarth, and I can
Silver
get
Blood Inn says it all.
right, and I can get way more. I can get way more money for it when I sell it someplace else where silver is scarce. And the same is true for all those resources like iron, all the mining stuff for sure. But then there's a lot of other resources that play into this, including it includes things like. It does, I think, include stuff like timber and crops, food items, fishing, things like that.
Okay.
So that's one idea. Simple mod, set up a trade route. Now suddenly, wow, I've got all this stuff to do.
Now you got a reason to go to different cities.
Exactly.
I'm making a merchant tour now because I'm going to go sell some stuff, make some money, and
chances are you're going to have a few adventures along the way.
I'm
So
going to
that's a great
exploit
first
the
option,
scarcity.
trade routes, right?
Yep, trade routes.
What would a second one be?
Okay, here's another one. I've recently gotten into become a bard. So for
another mod.
Yep.
Okay.
For my new character, for my Epicosity project, while I'm putting Shullat on hold to figure out what I want to do with him next, I've created the candidate for my Guildmaster, Thieves Guild.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I decided to focus him on not only being a thief, but being a bard. Introduce that. Now you have the ability to go around to the different cities, go to the taverns, and actually play for money and gain notoriety. And with notoriety, you're able to make some money doing this. You're able to go back to the Bard's College, and you're able to buy new songbooks so that you can play more. and
All right.
kind of build it. So
Nice.
now I'm on a rock and roll tour,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I'm selling concert jerseys and all that, right?
Doer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So there you go, right?
Yeah.
There's another thing that you can do, right?
One more. Give me
Cool.
one more.
What'd be another good one?
Oh, just in general, interesting NPCs.
For sure. Yeah.
Adds a lot of
Yep.
characters to the game, inside and outside of cities.
Yep.
Many of them just have interesting dialogue that's just kind of fun to go through.
Sure.
Listen to a story, and
Yep.
others have an actual quest that will go along with
Yeah.
them. Oh, who's the one? The one woman that has a fun with the big, huge.
The Horker?
The Horker.
Oh, yeah.
She's funny. If you
Callan.
have interesting
Yeah.
NPCs, go find her because she's a riot.
Yeah, she's at the Nightgate Inn, and she's got the best lines ever. I
Yeah,
love
she rocks.
traveling with her.
But interesting
But, yeah.
NPCs will definitely beef up your city exploration.
Yep.
Um,
Here,
any mods that might add things that the city's missing, such as the smelters, for example.
sure,
Gives you a
absolutely.
reason to go there and
Yep.
melt down some stuff.
Yep, there are mods that will allow you to set up and man your own stand in the marketplace.
Oh, I
so
didn't
you can
know that.
become a merchant and
Oh, I like
actually,
that.
rather than traveling around, you can stock your merchant stand with stuff and sell it.
All right. Nice.
Another one that I think is particularly interesting, especially if you're playing a thief character, is Sewers of Skyrim. Places a nice, a complicated sewer complex underneath all of the cities, and basically stocks it with all kinds of people doing illicit things and smuggling, all this kind of stuff, right?
Interesting.
Oh, nice.
So there's smuggling that can happen there.
How about your current mod with the cannabis?
Oh yeah, there's
Which
the cannabis
okay,
mod.
so yeah,
Only in Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
I gotta get a job there.
Rocky Mountain High.
Right on, brother. But anyway, if I understand right, that it's not just about the cannabis. It adds a lot of other stuff.
Yes.
Where you can go to merchants and buy things. So
Yeah.
you've got a reason to go to the city and
Yes.
buy a pipe for your wizard
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know the ins and outs. I don't have it installed. but-
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of amazing. I mean, well, I am this character. His name is Robard, and I'm going to be talking about him in an episode sometime soon.
So we'll get
probably
more
next
into this
episode,
mod
but
for sure.
We'll definitely get more into that. I've tried to set up Skyrim to be a playground for a thief bard, and
Nice.
I've assembled a bunch of mods together that I think are ideal for Robard, and we'll talk about him in some more detail in episode 8, I think. So yeah, that's definitely an option. The other thing you can do, which you could also do in the vanilla game, is you can find a temple inside of a town. What I did is I took a character and kind of made him a devout follower of Arcay,
Okay.
and made that every city kind of has a catacomb where people are buried and stuff.
Yeah,
like
House
that,
of Dead.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
House of the Dead.
Yeah.
So in Whiterun, I sort of made that place my business. It was a place where not only did the character go to worship, but if a follower or somebody that he respected died, he would take something that was symbolic of that person, and he would go to the House of the Dead, and he would bury it or place it in there in a ceremonial way out of respect, right? So now you're coming into town for a completely different motive, which is
for sure.
Visit.
pay respect to your dead comrades. Either you're leaving them there, or you're coming there to pray and pay your respects each time you pass through, right?
Yeah.
Oh, very
That's
nice.
another thing, right?
I wish
You
I
can
had
do
thought of that when I lost Lydia to the Boethia cultists.
Oh, nasty. Yeah.
It's hard to lose Lydia, but I did it.
Yeah, I did it too. I've done it too. So
That's a great idea. I wish I had thought of that because
Yeah.
I definitely would have done that because she's like the Uber follower.
yeah,
Probably one of the most popular.
yeah. I lost her once, literally a half a mile outside of like Whiterun. It was like
Oh,
I was
no.
literally I was just not far past Haunting Brew Meadery.
Oh my gosh.
And it was probably, it was the same day I acquired her as a follower.
Oh, good Lord.
She got killed right there.
Oh, no.
So those are just some ideas, Cheeseburger. Take it or leave it, but there's a lot of different things you can do. I think it's mods, creative ideas coupled with intent will get you there.
And let us know what you did with it.
Yeah, let us know how it works
for
out.
sure.
Man.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
next?
So, we've got two other that I kind of like to group together.
Okay.
Let's start out with, I'll read them both. I want to start out with packet loss from the U.S. here.
All right.
And it's really all about connecting stories, how to bring storylines together.
Right.
So what they say is, I've always had trouble melding the Skyrim game into the story I want to tell. How have you been able to bend Skyrim to your story? In other words, how have you been able to dedicate an outcome that falls in line with your story given the only choices that Skyrim as a game provides?
Mm-hmm.
So the second related question is from Scarlet Silverflame from Ohio.
Okay.
And what they ask is...
Hey, Scarlet.
Hello.
What they ask is, I have multiple ideas for different characters with different stories, but I guess for now, I want to give you one of those. I was hoping if there was a way to have 3 separate stories and have them connected into one. I don't know if you watched the show called Heroes. If not, look it up. But that's basically what I'm trying to say. So I personally am not familiar with that particular story. So I did do a quick look on the interwebs, and basically, really, what the Heroes is about, from according to them, is ordinary people that have superhuman abilities, and how those abilities take effect in the characters' lives and the lives of the common people who discover their powers, and how they intertwine to become a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
So, to me, that sounds a lot like some of the stuff you're doing with the Epicosity project.
Yes.
But they're both. How do you make these connections?
Yeah.
From Scarlet Silverflame and Packet Loss.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's, first of all, it is a lot like Project Epicosity. Epicosity has a number of elements in it. First of all, for Packet Loss, what I would say is, before you can tie the quest together, the first thing that you need to do is create a framework that makes it possible. And that's what we were talking about in Epicosity when we were talking about the premise. What is the larger framework that all the existing quests could fit into conceivably, or some of them? I think it's ridiculous to try to string together every quest in the game and think that you're going to make it work. I think the reason that I play a lot of different characters is because A, I love the experience of trying new things, and B, not every quest fits every character. It just doesn't. But there are some things that you can do to make certain ones fit together, even some quests that seem diametrically opposed. So
yeah, and
right,
and I think what we were talking about earlier with your Imperial soldier, is a good example of that.
Yep,
he's a very structured Imperial factioned person. Yet you're trying to weave this storyline together with the companion's quest line, which is very unstructured.
Yes,
they both have elements of
well, it's combat, and it's a kind of a martial type of lifestyle, but it's a different approach to.
Yeah, honor. That's the They both have elements of honor.
Maybe honor is the common thread,
but the way they perceive it and carry it about is completely different.
Exactly.
So I think that's a good example of how you would do that.
Right.
But you're right. You cannot take every single quest line and make it meld.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not going to work.
What I think you need to do, Packet, is come up with a larger premise that can serve as the foundation to plug things together. So You have some larger threat that allows that would drive your character possibly towards doing more than one major quest line. So one of the things that we talked about is we said, what if there was some bad guy who was so bad but so powerful that he was able to control characters like Alduin, control characters in game like Mirak, for example, right? If you have a threat that's larger like that, if you've got some menace, whatever it is, then you're able to be a bit more nimble. I think that what you don't want to do is tie yourself into such an intricate plot line that you're essentially handcuffing yourself and saying the only way that I can make these two things fit together is if the character believes this and acts like this and blah, 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 right? You just need a larger, looser framework that allows you to be nimble and respond to what's going on in a game. And if something is going to tie together, it's going to tie together. For me, when I was doing Aranis Arcana, it was a little bit more difficult because I had secrets I needed to keep. I had a prescribed storyline I wanted to follow. I had a direction I wanted the story to go and certain things I wanted to present viewers with. So, I was always giving a lot of thought to how these things were going to tie together. But I find that when I'm playing on my own for fun, I've got a larger premise, and I kind of let that be the framework I work within. And, if a quest is going to happen, it's going to happen.
Don't force it.
Exactly. With Shullat, I know
Right.
I want him to be in the companion's quest, and I'm taking a little break right now to figure out how that's going to happen.
If you overthink
but,
it seems like you could manufacture it so deeply that it just isn't enjoyable. I mean,
Yes.
there's nothing really
Right.
achievable when you're spending most of your time figuring out how do you smash these two things together.
Yeah,
But-
Right.
exactly.
If you have access, if you're PC and you have access to mods, one example, there are some instances where you just can't make it work because the game won't let you. Specifically, I am thinking of Blades versus Parthenax.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one.
Really, there's no reason that they both can't work.
Yeah.
But in game, if you get to that point without being modded, you'll find out that you cannot make one work without the other. There is a mod called the Parthenax Dilemma that allows you to have your cake and eat it too.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is a great option in that particular case. So
I've always hated that. I've always
because
that-
there are no good choices in that particular case.
And what we're talking about here, without letting on too many spoilers, because Matt hasn't had the joy of going through this quest line yet, but the game forces you to make a decision that both ways is kind of unsavory. In fact, it just doesn't make sense to me. The choice you're
Right.
forced to make does not make sense to me at all, and I don't like either option.
Right.
So,
if you are in the realm of being able to mod it, that's one.
That's
I
a
think
great
That's one
suggestion,
I would
Joe.
suggest to
yeah.
help resolve that, so you can.
Yeah, good
so
example.
You can play your game the way you intended it, and come out with optimal results.
Yeah, absolutely. So, here's an example with Sagramore, for instance. He's a big, strong, tough warrior. He came off the Civil War quest line, a big Stormcloak hero and all this stuff. So how did he end up being a devout worshiper of Hermaeus Mora, who is all generally about people who are bookish and academic and stuff, right?
Right.
Well, that was a whole interesting experience for me. I created a side quest that allowed me to do all of this, but the end result was that through this experience, I was able to sort of connect Sagramore to a deity that allowed him, in many instances, to do things that were uncharacteristic for a stereotypical warrior. So now suddenly...
Well, and a stereotypical scholar.
Well, yeah. So suddenly it wouldn't have been surprising to see this guy, this huge guy in black armor covered with scars and tattoos, walk into the mage college and ask to see their library. Right? Because because he was devout right? But the way that I saw him is where perhaps Hermaeus Mora had followers who sat and did research and were scholars. He was the wing of those worshipers whose job it was to go out and take knowledge away from people who didn't deserve it, right? So he was the guy who...
taking away all the orcish
right?
weapons from the unworthy, right?
Yeah, and
There you go.
he went far enough into the mage quest line to get himself hooked up with the librarian there who sent him on all kinds of missions
Oh,
to
yeah.
find lost books.
Right.
And that's right up the alley, this mighty warrior who's like, I'm coming in and I'm going to burn your place down and I'm taking your books and bam, I mean, it was great. And I loved
cool.
playing that. And the experience was amazeballs because he was in there just kind of doing this stuff. It was uncharacteristic for a warrior, but he was kind of this warrior scholar in the way that I think of, maybe how some of the Templars were or something like that. So
Did you just
that's another
say
thing.
amazeballs?
I said amazeballs.
All right.
Amazeballs.
Is that the first time you've heard amazeballs?
I'm sheltered, so yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it kind of is, but
You need to read more stuff on Gawker, apparently.
Yes, I said amazeballs.
no comment.
I'm waiting for the next person to talk about like a Russian dragon.
I said amazeballs, Trebek.
BALANCE.
Suck it long and suck it hard, Trebek.
Balance.
Anyways, so
There's a song in there, I know.
I don't know if this helps at all. I think that maybe gives us something to work with as far as how you could tie some things together. Look for interesting things you can pick out that'll give a character a bent that maybe is unusual, or create a framework that lets you operate within that framework maybe a bit more freely, stuff like that.
Right. If there's no common thread, make one.
Yeah.
You
As
know,
far
but,
as
but don't try to spiderweb it and bring them all together into one.
yeah, just don't make it too complicated.
It's just not.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep,
And as to Scarlett's question, I think that just I would say do the Epicosity project. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple solution. Do
pick-
Epicosity.
Build your characters up to a certain point for a specific purpose, and then bring them all together.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Make yourself an archmage, make yourself a harbinger, make yourself a listener, and then use familiar faces to pull them together.
Yeah, that sounds a whole lot like what the Heroes show that you referenced.
Yeah.
Really sounds like it's
Yep.
it's these different personalities, these different skills coming together for the greater good.
Yep, absolutely. And there is a long period of time while they're discovering their powers and all this stuff where we're seeing them individually, but in the end, it's about how they come together and the weird ways
what's great
that
about
happens.
that is it allows you to have a variety of different playthroughs and experience a variety of different things along the way.
And having that whole crew of people who can then turn and be
Along,
followers of the other
with
leader,
the greater overarching umbrella of their purpose out as a goal.
Sounds epic.
It sounds super epic.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of a rather epic episode. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Episode.
Episode.
Maybe that's what we need to start calling it. Episode number 7.
I know, right? We've come to the end of another episode. Oh my God, did we just come to the end of an episode? How long has it been now? Oh, man.
We have.
That was only one episode?
We would like to thank fans of the show for your faithful support and continued encouragement. Your enthusiasm is the lifeblood of this podcast, and I am slurring my words at this point because I'm so damn tired. You can contact us through our website at charactercrusade.com. And until next time, remember, it's not about the objective, it's about the journey. So go forth and experience. Now I'm going to drop the mic. I'm out.
Gods be praised.
That's a perfect way to end.
That was excellent.
How come I think that that little bit's going to be re-recorded?
It's really